DY is coming to you in 5, 4, 3, 2.
It has been a busy week, and there is a lot of news to talk about.
Wait.
Of course, we had the Atlas.
Wait. There's something more cooler happening today. Yeah, there's something cooler happening today than just space news. What do you mean?
We've got Starship stuff to talk about. We've got a flyover happened. I mean, we've got a lot of news. What's the breaking news?
Breaking news? Taylor's getting married. What do you mean?
No.
That's
We are not talking about Taylor on the show today. No, we've got a lot of space news to cover. We're not talking about Taylor. Just roll the intro, Kevin.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No! Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Flame Trench. I am D-Wise. I am your host for this evening. We've got a lot of space news to talk about. We had the Atlas launch, which is in many ways a significant Atlas launch. We've got Starship news, so much more. But of course, I am not alone on the Flame Trench this evening. As you saw, not as you saw. First off, we have Alex joining me.
Yeah, you didn't see me, I guess, but yeah, hi. I'm here as well. We might talk about this little thing over here and more stuff, I guess.
Absolutely. And as you saw in the opening there, we also have the one and only Ryan.
Hey everyone, how's it going today? We're going to talk about some Starship and a couple other stuff.
Yeah, and now a new face for those of you tuning in, but if you stayed for some of the late night streams, you might know who we're about to introduce. We have Magnus here for this evening. Magnus, welcome to your first Flame Trench.
Hey guys, it's great to be here.
And in the background, pushing all of the buttons, pulling the levers, is the one, the only Kevin Michael Reed. So, I mean, it's been a busy week. We don't need to mention anything more about the news you brought up in that cold open. I guess let's just start off right off the bat with, no, Kevin, this is a space news show.
Get that out of there.
Hey, I wasn't going to bring it up anymore. Kevin's the one who brought it up more. So,
yeah,
I wasn't going to say
the only space stuff. The only stuff in New York we're talking about will be space related stuff like in Intrepid, but not today. We've got Atlas to talk about, a very significant Atlas. It was the launch of LAO8. So it was Atlas's 8th launch of the Amazon Leo constellation, which of course we've gotten several of those, so it doesn't seem all that significant right off the bat, but it is one of the last Atlas launches, and it's the last one to carry satellites. And so from here on out, Atlas is only scheduled to be doing Starliner missions. So we have to say goodbye to that 5-meter fairing that we saw, and that many SRBs. Like there's a lot that we're losing here. It was a somewhat emotional launch, I have to say. But now they're moving towards Starliner flights, but that's also up in the air. So it was early Thursday morning when they launched the LA-08 mission and continue to fill out the Leo constellation. So that constellation is underway, though significantly behind schedule, but they have a waiver. So even though originally by the end of this month, they were supposed to have half their constellation deployed, but they were able to get a waiver for that. And as long as they continue to launch with all of the other launch vehicles and they pick up their cadence, they will hopefully be able to hit their final deadline in 2028. Now, or 2029. Sorry, I miscopied the date there. But I mean, let's talk about Atlas here, because we saw the 551 mission, the Bruiser. It's a very powerful rocket. We honestly love to see it. The mix of liquids and solids is something that's pretty rare. We only really get it on Atlas and Vulcan missions now, quite like this. And Vulcan is also up in the air. So ULA has a bit of a questionable future, I'd say. What do you think, Alex? Like, think we're going to be bringing in more of those Atlases back to satellite launches, or are we going to see all of those go to Starliner as planned? Because Starliner is also a big question mark right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of talking about this. Was it yesterday when it launched, or the previous day? I don't remember now. Like on the launch stream, we were talking about how there's very specific hardware that needs to be created. Like you could, in theory, just take very in theory, like the top portion of the fairing on Atlas 5, the 500 version, now has been sort of streamlined so that it's the same as the one that they put on Vulcan, right? Because it's also 5 meter and everything. However, there is the bottom portion that connects to the booster, which is an Atlas 5 thing, basically, because on Atlas 5, the 5 meter variant of the fairing has the Centaur 3 inside. So it's inside, and it also needs to be able to sort of put the loads across the entirety of the fairing. So there's like a load reactor sort of thing that separates during like after fairing separation, it separates and flies away. So yeah, that's one of the things that needs to be procured or made or built, because I'm sure that they probably only made like just enough for however many missions they had at the beginning, you know, when they were sort of phasing out Atlas 5 production. So that's my sort of few things that I will say here, that if they were to transfer those to satellite missions, first of all, which missions? Like, what are you launching? Because Amazon has already said this is the final LEO satellite launch on Atlas, right? Like, they have been very definitive about that. It's weird that we have not seen that kind of wording from ULA, which is interesting. So that is why we're still sort of saying, well, maybe they could modify some of the Starliner versions. They can still fly with a 2-engine Centaur. That's fine. It's not, it lowers a little bit the performance, but doesn't really matter that much. If you're carrying a lot of satellites and whatever, maybe it's like one fewer satellite or something like that. But we'll see. It's just not easy, and we have no idea.
In theory, they would all be going to Starliner, but the Starliner 1 mission, which of course was moved to a cargo mission and has seemingly repeatedly pushed, even though like schedules haven't necessarily updated. It was going to be launching at one point this year, but that's not going to happen. So we'll see when that happens and how many of those last 4 Starliner missions actually happen to make use of these Atlases. Because I mean, it's nice to be able to see rockets in museums, but we don't want an excessive number of rockets to go to museum. It's way better when we can see those actually put to use, launching things into space. And so between the SRB configuration the exact configuration that exists for Starliner, and then the lack of not just fairings, but the facility to make more fairings. It would be no small task if Starliner doesn't end up launching all those missions to repurpose those atlases for other satellites. And I'm sure ULA wants to just get Vulcan up and going as much as they can, but with Vulcan on a hold from the SRBs that it has, and a little bit of a question mark existing after the New Glenn anomaly, I'm not so sure how much of a role that might play into Vulcan returning to flight. But I mean, ULA has never had the cadence of SpaceX here, but they want to be able to pick that up. There's a reason they have the VIF. There's a reason they have VIF A specifically for Amazon LEO satellites. Like, they want to be able to launch a ton of these missions. And Amazon isn't nearly as dependent on just one provider. So I guess if they've said so definitively that they're not, like, it is their final Atlas mission, well, they can go to Falcon 9. They already have more missions booked there. They've got Ariane 6. They've got Vulcan eventually, once that starts flying once again. And they will also have New Glenn. So their holdup there is 3 of the rockets they fly on are not flying at this moment. But of course, Blue is hoping to get New Glenn flying really fast. We'll have to see. So I'm curious for the whole group, how many of the Starliner missions do y'all think we're actually going to see here?
Ryan? I'm trying to think here. How many? Because they've already, I know they bought an extra Atlas because they had to do OFT2. So technically, what they still have, I think they had 6 under contract still. Yeah, they had 6 because they haven't done any of their operational missions yet. They're supposed to do 6 out of the contract for the commercial crew. In terms of how many actually used for Starliner, I saw Alex put up a single finger. I kind of agree with that. 1.
Maybe 2 at
1.
most, but yeah, 1.
And that launches next year at the earliest, which is, we could go into how bad Starliner is right now, but we don't really need to really go into that. But either way, the problem with, as you were saying, problem with getting those atlases to use other sats or fly other missions is, well, what satellites do you use? You would have to take them off Vulcan and put them on Atlas, and you also need the fairings, and you also need the SRBs as well, because those are GEM 63s, not the XLs. It's a different SRB they use. It's a whole other ball game for that. I honestly think they'll fly as many flights as Starliner goes, however many that is, which could be 1 or 2 more. Because at this rate, Starliner is not going to fly enough until the ISS is dunked into the Pacific Ocean. I'm entirely honest. Who knows how well Starliner 1 goes? As of right now, that's looking like an uncrewed flight. If that goes well, then what? Crewed next? After that, what is that, 2029? Oh, well, no, it's 2030. Okay. Bye-bye ISS. Or 2032. I think there's going to be a couple of Atlas 5 cores left over. At which point, I hope they make like some SRB casings and some fairings, and then they put it in a rocket garden somewhere, because there's going to be cores left over, and that's kind of what I hope they do. But that's kind of how I look at it.
I mean, I know we would all really like to have redundancy in crew launches from the US, and I would love to see Starliner regularly flying commercial missions to commercial stations, but that continues to seem less and less likely. So in some ways, I feel like almost the best case scenario is they use 1, 2, 3 of these. Maybe they repurpose even more of them as cargo vehicles, specifically for returning stuff from the station, because obviously a lot of vehicles can carry stuff up, not nearly so many can bring stuff back down. And so if we get to see more flights of Starliner that way, if they determine that the
Uncrewed.
safety margins aren't there, but they still want to fly. I feel like that'd be something of a silver lining, at least. But I mean, obviously, we want to see. I want to see Starliner succeed. I want to see it fly crew missions safely once it has been adequately proven that it will carry out those missions safely. Alex, Magnus, what are you thinking?
Magnus,
I'm gonna go as far to say is I think we're going to see majority of all the Atlases used. If not necessarily for Starliner, I think we're going to see them used because it doesn't necessarily make sense to waste a fully functional rocket. Whether they use Atlas for Starliner or if they use Starliner for cargo, that's something yet to be seen. But I do think we're going to see probably at least 3 Starliner missions that at least launches the Starliner capsule, and then there's a chance we might see them attempt to use Starliner for commercial stations. But as we're getting close to the deorbiting of this ISS, so they're running out of time. That's ultimately the biggest constraint here is time.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we'll also have to see, like, what are their possible moves to figure out fairings? Like, what could they do? It's not like they can just bolt some Vulcan fairings on there. Like, that's a huge thing that they just don't have the way to make more of right now.
Isn't the production? How long ago did they shut down the production line? I know it was a while ago. They shut down Atlas V production a while ago. You've had those cores for a bit.
I think 4 years.
Yeah,
it's been years, and of course they moved away from the 4-meter fairing. The last one from the Space Coast, that would have been Spurs Geo 6. And Alex, I think you were saying there was a West Coast mission that had the 4-meter fairing after that?
Yeah, that was GPSS 2. That was the one with the Lofty, the inflatable heat shield thing. Yeah.
Like,
so
that's the thing, Ryan. Is that it was
Does
that
Kevin
long
have
ago?
the chart that he prepared? He prepared? I don't know.
It was that long ago, but like, did they scrap all the tooling? Because if all that tooling's gone, you're not remaking that tooling and you're not restarting that production line, which means you don't have fairings.
That's the one that I did. No, you gotta show the one that you did, Kevin.
It all ultimately comes down to, I think, inventory. It comes down to inventory of whatever they have left. I mean, there might be a chance they have some spare fairings lying around that we don't know. But if they don't have the tooling required, they're not going to start fabrication for fairings and other things just to launch a couple vehicles. That's going to be the ultimately deciding factors: what tooling they have left and what inventory they have left to launch this vehicle.
This chart, by the way, is the one of the number of launches per Atlas V configuration. So you can see on the bottom 401, 411, 421, 431, 501, 511, 521, 531, 541, and 551, which was the one that launched this last time. And then the N22 for Starliner 3 times. Yeah, that's the chart. This is the one that Kevin made from the other thing that he showed, which was the screenshot that that I gave him, showing like the 500 series, the 400 series, and then like the 3
walking one
launches. Yeah, this is like a screenshot from Excel. But yeah, it's funny to me that they did like 23 551s and 8 of those are Amazon launches.
I guess the percentage of vehicles in use, like vehicle configurations in use, has seriously changed over the course of Atlas's lifetime. Like, it's been around, even just Atlas V has been around for quite a long time, but now it's down to 5-meter fairings or no fairings. So obviously, like, we'd like to see them launched, but I think even in all our best case scenarios, we're not necessarily anticipating all of them launching. So I've got to ask, when where would we like the Atlases to go? I definitely think one has to stay at Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah. Because of how much it was used by the U.S. Air Force, lay one on its side right next to the Titan. Which Titan do they have in Dayton? At the Air Force Museum. Lay a core down there, and then put one in the Kennedy Rocket Garden. But you need to get SRB casings and fake a fairing. Maybe it's got to be plastic. It's got to be plastic, but fake a 5-meter fairing or something like that. And you could put a dummy Centaur on there as well. Centaur 3, why not? But like, if you've got even more than that, I don't know where else you put them. What else is going to take another core unless stick it at Houston doesn't really feel like a good place to put one. I don't know. I can think of the Air Force Museum and the Cape. Off the top of my head.
Magnus, do you want to advocate for the West Coast, or should I advocate for the West Coast here?
If we're going to get an Atlas 5, it has to be in the 401 configuration.
Yeah.
Because that's the one used here all the time.
Thank you.
Put one in the California Science Center on its side in the 401 config. There you go. Job's
Has
done.
to be 401 or 411 with a single SRB, because it's the oddest configuration.
I'm going to say what I said the other day. Does nobody think about Colorado and Alabama? This thing got basically designed and built in those two states, or tested in between those states.
So if you got 5 cores left, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Colorado. That's where they have the HQ. Then they also have like technical support. I think Alabama is also where they do some of the engineering and stuff like that, especially because of all the heritage and history. There's multiple places where you can put this thing in, and it's probably more on point than, say, a Falcon 9 in the middle of Denver.
Yeah, that still has never made any sense to me why that Falcon 9 is there.
So KSC, I'm going to say Johnson, like human spaceflight, it might not have been the best at it, but it has the human spaceflight heritage. Like, I'm going to say KSC, Houston, California Science Center, Alabama. Where else? Anywhere else? Hopefully we don't have this many.
It was the U.S. Air Force Museum is the other one I was saying.
And the Air Force Museum, yeah.
Because that's got an old Atlas in there, too. I think vertical, even. I think it's one of the original Atlases it's got in there.
If they're putting an Atlas in Houston, it has to be Starliner configuration. Because, I mean, then you also get a Starliner out of the way anyway, so it's one less Starliner to worry about.
Good point. I don't think we...
Hey, if they want a crude space vehicle, there's your substitute for Discovery. There you go. Yep. You don't get Discovery, you get a Atlas 5 with a Starliner.
I would much rather them get a star. Okay, so if we get Calypso on top of an Atlas out there, it carried crew to space. It didn't bring them back, but it carried them to space. It's done 2 flights already. I think this is a good call.
I think this is a good substitute. Ted Cruz. Yeah. This is a good. Yep.
I mean, they've done similar things. I mean, the space shuttle went to the space station. Starliner went to the space station. It's the same thing.
They're basically the same, right? Right?
Sure.
Both had their flaws. So there you go.
Yeah.
We just resigned to the fact that they're not going to fly. These are multi-million-dollar vehicles. They're just going. ULA is just going to say, forget it.
Well,
go into a museum.
If you can't fly Starliner on them, you can't fly them at all because they don't have the production. They don't have anything else in production to. You don't have the fairings. You don't have the you don't have the SRBs, and you don't have the second stages. I mean, you could use the second stages with 2 RL10s, but.
I've been advocating for we need to fly the vehicles but I am now realizing that if Atlas actually flies these vehicles, its last several flights will be Starliner.
I know.
And do we really want Atlas's legacy to be
No.
tied that closely to Starliner?
Do you really want the last Atlas V to be Amazon Leo, though?
I mean, in the perfect world, the last Atlas V would have been like a GPS sat or a USSF or an NRL sat.
And
Why
one
is
that
that's
has the
really
America
where
250 logo as well, right?
I've got a wild idea here. So, you know, NASA wants to get launches cheap. They want to do cool missions. What if NASA just takes over one of the Atlases, makes their own fairing, makes their own adapter, and just launches a payload that way? If they can get the rocket for basically free, and that can be Atlas's legacy.
Hey,
do I think
What
it's
if
going to happen?
They launched
Absolutely not.
Promise on it. The Promise rover.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Atlas launched
to the moon.
What a
launched Perseverance
legacy.
and Curiosity. There we go. And you launched to the moon.
There you go. Boom. That's a legacy right at the end. A NASA science mission, because unless people forget, Atlas V is one of the rockets that has gotten like all the most recent Mars rovers to Mars successfully, very successfully. Like, you know, Curiosity and Perseverance and everything else. Like, it's like that was Atlas V. It's got a heck of a legacy under its hat. That's for sure. And it would be cool if it ended on that. I mean, it would need the fairing and whatnot, but that would definitely be a cool way for it to end rather than Starliner or Amazon Leo. And especially the Atlas family as a whole, because technically Atlas family ends after this, unless you want to start splitting hairs and where the heritage goes. From the late 50s to now, it'd be the end of Atlas. It's like saying the R7's done. You know, the R7 launched a lot more than Atlas did. The R7's over 2,000 launches in its family, and Atlas is at like 430 or something along those lines. But still, it's kind of a lot. That and Titan defined America's spaceflight for a long time.
And I have to say, sorry, go ahead, Magnus.
It's not just going to be the retirement of the Atlas vehicle, but it's also going to be the retirement of Russian engines in the U.S. We're done with the RD-180, and AJ-26 is no longer used on Antares. They're using Firefly engines. So it's kind of an end of an era there. No more Russian engines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all in all, I think it's kind of a sad moment because we haven't known for sure. It's a big question mark. I know we touched on it briefly during the launch live stream, but with the end of other rockets, we tend to have an idea that it's coming. Like, we know this will be the rocket's final mission. And even if we don't have several launches heads up, like, at least we know we can celebrate it. Everyone can come out for the mission. We've got Leo 8 here, and it's like, was this the last one? I sure hope not. Probably not, but it was the end of a configuration. Then we're going to have the Starliner missions. I hope we do get Starliner missions, and I hope that even if they don't launch all the Starliners that are planned, I hope that we have heads up. I hope people are able to spend the time to travel to come see Atlas launch one last time, because it is absolutely the end of an era. And I don't know, I feel like it does deserve a proper send-off, and the 8th Leo mission doesn't feel like it. And honestly, a Starliner mission doesn't necessarily feel like it either. But at least we should have a definitive mission that is the final that we can celebrate. Yeah, the variations.
Fun fact. This over here to the right never flew, the long version of the 5-meter fairing. Like, even with the Amazon Leo satellite launches, those only use the medium version. The medium length, 5-meter diameter. They never flew the long version.
So did they make a test version of the fairing that might be lying around somewhere?
No, they normally just advertise these things even before making one of those. They just said, hey, we can do this.
Like SpaceX saying, advertising
hey,
the extended fairing?
Well, at least we have seen the extended fairing.
if they had a test version, imagine if one of the vehicles in a museum had a version of the fairing that never flew. That would be kind of funny. Now, I mean, there are so many versions of the Atlas configuration here, but now Vulcan is the future for ULA, and we've got a question mark there. Actually, Gabriel GG was wondering if we think that it will return to flight this year, and I definitely do. I think it'd be very sad if it didn't return to flight, but this is also, at that point, will be somewhat of a return to flight. Like, whenever Vulcan returns to flight, that'll be probably the next flight for ULA as a whole. So, Alex, what are you thinking? When might Vulcan actually return to flight?
I mean, they are already stacking that vehicle for the next Vulcan launch out of the vertical integration facility dash Amazon dash A. They're calling it, right? The BIF A. And that one, actually, the last update that we got was from June 2nd, and it was like the booster and the Centaur were both stacked on the mobile launcher platform, which is also a new one that they have built. So my guess is that they're probably ready to go whenever they are clear to launch again. There were rumors at one point that it was going to be like late July timeframe. Maybe it is, maybe it is not. Maybe it's a little bit later into the summer. I think they are already stacking. They probably already have an idea of where the path to return to flight is and how to follow through that. They did a test, I think, in May of the SRB of the Gem 63 XL, which I think sort of got them more data on the sort of nozzle erosion behavior and all that stuff that they wanted to look at. So we'll see. I mean, it is also true that it is an Amazon mission. They don't really, like, yes, Vulcan is grounded, but I don't think the FA per se grounded ULA or Vulcan. It was just that the military wasn't willing to fly any more payloads. But then Amazon came around and it's like, yeah, sure, you can start stacking your rocket and get ready for Amazon launches. We'll see if they actually give the go-ahead and the green light to ULA to launch Vulcan with Amazon satellites. But probably better than doing that with a multi-billion military satellite, right? Then I guess if Amazon loses like I think they're launching like 36, 39 of them on Vulcan. If they lose a few of those, maybe they're not that concerned. They have many other launches and many other missions coming up. So
yeah, they probably have risk tolerance in there that if they miss if they lose a stack, but the risk is get those satellites up sooner, which of course they want to do. They want to get the constellation operating, able to start making some money, getting consumers out there.
But at the same time, if it works, then it's a plus for them because then they can launch again another Vulcan and launch more Amazon Leo and things like that. Like that's also probably the balance that they're making, the trade-off here. It's like, well, if we lose the satellites, oops, right? But if it works and they don't have any issues with the SRBs, and this one will be flying with a 6 SRB configuration, right? So if something happens, they are going to figure out and find out quite soon if something happens on that mission. Excuse me. But it's like, yeah, if it works, then they can start, keep launching. And they have many of these boosters laying around, both the Gem 63 XL and also the Vulcan boosters. And Centaurs, I don't know how many Centaurs we've seen
they
passing
have
by
so many
our
Centaur
Space Coast
5s.
Live cameras, but like they are processing these stages outside of the normal places. Like they have other locations where they are doing the processing, and sometimes they pass by our cameras, and it's bonkers how many of them they have prepared already.
I think that when Vulcan does get flying again, and it could be sooner rather than later, because they did that test firing, maybe they've figured out the problem, and then if there's anything related to the BE4s regarding the New Glenn explosion, they'll figure that out, or perhaps it's already figured out. It has been like, what, 5-6 weeks since that anomaly, give or take. So maybe they already have everything figured out. So once they do start getting going on Vulcan again, we might actually see a ton of launches of like Amazon Leosats to make sure the rocket's good to go. And then they'll go, hey, Space Force, see, it's good to go. And then they'll start launching NSSL runs. Maybe that's kind of what they're going to do at this point. But it'll be nice to see it getting flying again. Always want to see rockets fly, and I'd rather not have Vulcan just sit on the ground.
And there's something to be said for the amount of success that they have seen, even when they've experienced the SRB issues. Like, they haven't had here like a total loss of mission or anything like that. They've affected performance, but it's not been the catastrophic sort of result here. And so that has to give some confidence to Amazon there. Resistojet in chat was wondering if they've actually identified the SRB problem, because they have to be confident it's fixed. And yeah, they have to be confident. I think Alex addressed the testing that has gone on. So I'm sure once they're ready to give a full statement on that, they will. I don't know, Alex, Ryan, any thoughts there as to if
Well,
they've
yeah, I
actually?
mean, I suppose they have at least an idea of what happened. They just didn't explain the first time around that they had this issue, which I think it's this one, Cert2 in, that was October 2024. Trying to look up in my hard drive. Yeah, so that was October 2024, and then we had another thing earlier this year on the fourth flight. Because the third flight, if I'm not mistaken, was August 2025, right? And then the fourth flight, I don't remember now. It was earlier this year. We had preparations for Artemis 2, so it sort of like somewhere in here, I just cannot remember. But I know it was earlier this year. And it had another issue, and this time with 4 boosters instead of 2 of them installed. Not that the issue happened on 4, it's just that it got 2. It had the issue on 1, and it carried 4. There we go. But yeah, I have no idea. They didn't tell us when this happened, and they did another test as well of the. I mean, you can even see the
February 12th, by the way.
February 12th. There you go. Yeah, it was around the time of like the wet dress rehearsals for Artemis 2, and so
yeah,
like somewhere around here, but it's sandwiched in between Artemis 2 events, and so yeah. And we don't know. We don't know what happened.
Nope.
We don't even know what's the status of that investigation.
They might say exactly what went wrong, and state that here's the issue, here's the fix, and then move on and start launching again. Whenever they do get back to launching. So we might find out then. Or they just don't say it all and they just start flying again. It is ULA. Not like they're very open about things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have a question here from Mighty Unlikely asking if rocket launches with SRBs require significantly different settings in gear to photograph. Gear, not necessarily. Sometimes you'll want to have an ND filter that you don't necessarily need on liquid rockets, but settings, absolutely. The SRBs are so much brighter than any liquid engines, and so you are going with a significantly faster shutter speed and a higher aperture. So you really have to adjust for the solids to make sure you don't lose the detail there. And it's very different from most liquid rockets. With that, I do want to thank the support we've gotten in chat. First off, with Telstar86, the only Swift we need here is Swift Aerospace. Yes, thank you for the support. I know Ryan just wants to talk about Taylor more. No. I also thank you to Telstar86 for gifting Red Team membership, and to Bodger 1058. Oh, that's Rad Pat for gifting 5 red team memberships. And then Zelio with a super chat was wondering why Atlas 551 has asymmetric boosters. Alex, do you want to dive into that?
Sorry, what exactly was the question about the asymmetrical boosters?
Why does it have it?
Why do they do asymmetric boosters?
So Atlas 5 has this weird quirk, I guess, goes back ages to previous Atlas designs, where you've got the tanks, the liquid oxygen tank and the RP1 tank separate, and then you've got like a transfer tube that goes outside into the engine section to transfer the liquid oxygen into the engines. And so because it is on the outside, you don't have the full 360 degrees of the tanks basically available for you to strap things around it. So the way that they strap things is like they can only do like 3 on one side and 2 on the other, and it's not even diametrically opposite. So sometimes even if you've got like 2 and 2, for example, when it's a 5-4-1 situation, you still have like they are more towards one side than the other, and so it still sort of slides. Even when it's got 1 as well, it can also do 1. In the case of Vulcan, they got rid of this. Now the tanks are basically common dome design. So you've got just one dome instead of having separate tanks. And now the transfer tube goes through the lower tank, just like we see on Falcon 9 and on Starship. That's basically what happens there, and that's why you've got the side-mounted boosters, all symmetrical, all very nice. They can be attached whatever. Fun fact: if it were to happen to SLS, say you wanted to put 4 SRBs instead of 2, then you will have the same problem because it also has transfer tubes going on the exterior of the tank. So yeah, you will have to mount like 2 on each side instead of having like 4 in a cross sort of thing, which is weird.
Yeah, I am certainly gonna miss Atlas's occasionally asymmetric booster setup there, and the 551 especially. It is a gorgeous vehicle. You know, I really do hope that it does end up flying like its final mission with Promise to the moon. Like, unlikely, absolutely. There's like a pie high in the sky sort of idea, but that would be really cool if Atlas could launch something like that for its final mission. And speaking of moon missions, Alex, we've had a lot of moon-based news this week.
It was actually light in terms of news, but it gave us a bit of a new version, I guess, of the Jared Isaacman podcast, as I call it, because it was the second moon-based update from NASA. It is sort of like they're doing a monthly update sort of thing, where they did like one at the end of May. Technically, this one was in July, but it already was like late June as well. It's a weird thing. Because if you do it like at the end of one month and you do it like a month later, then sometimes if you miss it by a couple of days, then you're jumping to the other one. Never mind. That's not the point of this story. Is that they announced more lunar lander contracts. So yeah, he see there the Carlos Garcia Galan and Jared Isaacman podcast. As you can see there, it's very funny the way that they sort of showcase this news. But yeah, they're gonna be giving monthly news. They talked about many more contracts yet to be issued, more technology demonstrations that they want to put on future missions, and so there are solicitations out there. For example, this week they also issued solicitations for those. So in this particular announcement, podcast, whatever you want to call it, I just call it podcast because it's sort of the joke. But yeah, they announced 4 new lunar lander missions, and those are going to Astrobotic, Firefly, and Intuitive Machines. 2 of them are on Astrobotic, and then Firefly and Intuitive Machines got 1 each. For Astrobotic, they got 2 missions on their smaller Peregrine lander, and then Firefly got 1 Blue Ghost mission, and the Intuitive Machines lander will be a Nova C lander. In that case, so if you remember Peregrine lander, we were talking about Vulcan. If you remember the first Vulcan payload, that was a Peregrine lander, Astrobotic. they are going to be launching the Griffin 1 lander. It's a bigger lander that they are producing, and that one is supposed to launch later this year on a Falcon Heavy. But the Peregrine lander is a lot smaller, so it can launch like Falcon 9 class vehicle. Maybe by the time this launches, it might even be like Neutron or Terranar or whatever. it might fit as long as it fits. It probably can launch in other types of rockets. But yeah, 4 more lander missions. They're trying to ramp up the cadence of those CLIPS missions, and also some of the news as well was that they're sort of going around and trying to find payloads and things like that to launch that might be around NASA centers. And now they come up with Promise. So Promise is sort of their ground test article, so to speak, for Curiosity and Perseverance. It's quite old, but it works. You can see here, it's a Mars test vehicle, as they call it, and now it is Promise. It is a new backronym. I actually didn't put together what the full backronym was, but it's somewhere in the 1 second. Polar Rover for Observation, Mapping, and In Situ Exploration. Because of course it needs to be a backronym. But yeah, that's Promise. A new rover based basically it's a Mars test vehicle. They're gonna retrofit that and try to fly it to the moon. They're looking at it. They're not promising it yet. No pun intended. But yeah, they're thinking about it, as they call it. So yeah, nuclear-powered rovers. And I don't know if, Kevin, you've got also the chart that I made, the other one, the spreadsheet thing for the CLIPS missions. I'll let you prepare that because there's 4 new more missions, and when I put together all the list of missions, it's a lot of missions. There you go. Here. So you've got the flown ones, the 4 ones there, Peregrine, Mission 1, Intuitive Machines 1, Blue Ghost, and Intuitive Machines 2. Then the more upcoming ones here, the 4 here. And then all of the other ones are sort of like later down the line and under contract. There's a lot of CLIPS missions. We're going to see a lot of lunar landers, and these are under CLIPS. There are a bunch of others that are not part of NASA's CLIPS program, that are not in this list, and they're still planned to launch like in the next 2, 3, 4 years. So there's a lot of lunar landers, folks. This is quite a thing.
And see possibly at least one of those that's definitely not going to happen on that date. But I can't wait for a lot of lunar landers and the whole moon base. It's going to be a lot of fun to see it all come together. Eventually, watching also HLS land on the moon, and then build a base up. It's definitely exciting. It's a plan for the moon, not just we'll just kind of chuck Gateway into a weird orbit that no one likes. We're gonna do all these random things with SLS, constantly change everything. Those OIG reports were just those were hilarious to read. How everything was constantly changing on everyone, and it's like you wonder why it's taking a while to come up with all this stuff. Is because you keep changing the requirements. So stop changing the requirements, or at least come up with the requirements and then tell them to build the stuff. So it's nice to finally have it all come together and get it all simplified and started to launch landers more and get the program running. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, we definitely want to see, like, it's been a slow start with CLIPS to this point, but if it can really ramp up as we get to returning humans on the moon, Jared's sort of plan has been like, be willing to spend money on riskier missions that are able to be done for cheaper rather than necessarily doing the sort of Mars rover strategy, which has been spend a ton of money, make sure it is always right, just get it done fast, try, potentially fail, but be able to launch enough missions with that cost that, we get science we wouldn't have otherwise had, and it can happen faster than it otherwise would have. And that sort of promise potentially move to the moon, I think that's interesting. Is it the perfect lunar rover? I mean, probably not. It's probably not at all what it needs to be. But they have a platform that already exists, and they can look at, well, what makes sense to keep on there, what should they add, what extra capabilities should be removed to make way for more moon specific stuff. And I don't know, that's a really exciting possibility to just see NASA trying things with these. I don't want to say low risk, because for each individual company, a lot of this stuff is like so important. But in the grand scheme, any one of these missions it's not like a lunar rover. It's not a human mission. Like any one of these, if it doesn't go to plan, that's just one small step back. And there are so many here that are, I mean, upcoming and then under contract. Like it's an exciting time to be alive. I want to see more launches to the moon.
Yeah, the one entity that it's always been impressive, and I know some missions have always been more expensive than others, and they can become high risk and whatnot. But like, it is truly amazing how good JPL got at putting rovers on Mars. I mean, and they're always good at stuff on the moon as well. So I can't wait to see if they cook up anything. Maybe NASA can get more budget for JPL. I know the Clipsers for other companies, but like, use JPL. Like they're the masters at it. Like literally the masters at this kind of stuff. So I hope they can come up with something else, which that might be the Promise rover, which I have no doubt would land and work successfully on the moon. I mean, every time they've put a rover on Mars, they go, oh, it only lasts like 2 years, and it lasts like 15. And it's just like, yeah, it just keeps going. It's pretty amazing what they've done too.
Yeah, my only concern is the reliability of these landers, because of the four the reliability and also the consistency. Because I mean, if we want to show again that chart and everything, it's like you can see one in January 2024, February 2025, 4. Yeah, there you go. Like it's 4, and the last one was February 2025. It's already been more than a year since that one, and the next one is maybe late this year, right? And of those 4, only one actually was successful. That was Blue Ghost from Firefly. I was gonna say Firefly. I don't know why, but whatever. From Firefly, Blue Ghost. That was the only one that actually got, like, it landed, and it did actually even more signs than they were expecting. We saw the solar eclipse, because there was a lunar eclipse during that time, and that means the sun gets blocked by the Earth from the lander's perspective. That was so cool. They shot the whole thing, in darkness and everything. That was super cool. But then again, and then you have, Griffin 1. It's the first flight of Griffin lander. They're carrying a rover from Astro Lab, not to be confused with Astrobotic. And so, yeah, it's a whole thing. And now Astrobotic is also being bought by Voyager Technologies. It's a mess of companies, but yeah. And then Intuitive Machines, now their third lander. Maybe this time it lands upright. They have upgraded Blue Moon doesn't have a rocket. Blue Ghost Mission 2 is Blue Ghost Mission 2 is pending on Elytra, on that transfer vehicle that's going to carry it to lunar orbit and everything. There's like a bunch of things here as well in this other list that are pending on so many other things going correctly. Blue Moon Mission 2, carrying Viper, and the other the LTV rovers. It's there's
a lot.
There's a lot,
see when they all go.
And they need reliability and consistency, which is the thing that Eclipse doesn't have.
Well, I mean, you said that we need reliability and consistency. I agree, like consistently see in launches at least, but I feel like part of it is that it doesn't need the same reliability as certain other missions, if they're willing to accept is the wrong word, but they understand the risks and they're willing to accept some more risks than in other missions to get some of these missions off the ground, because there are so many, and there are so many to the point that Resistojet is even wondering how we're going to keep up with all of these missions. Like, that's a great problem to have, and I can't wait till we're to that point. Like, once we're getting not like 2 or 3 launches to the moon in a year, but when we're getting 10 launches to the moon in a year, that'll be incredible, because those will be mixed with human launches, and those will be mixed with, I mean, rovers, like so many
Cargo.
different missions, cargo missions, like actually building a moon base. That is going to be an incredible thing to see if we can get there to stay and actually use that as a platform to move forward.
I can't wait for the first, whether it's Starship, New Glenn. I don't know what rocket it'll be, because it could be a couple years down the road. But the first launch of the first moon base segment, like the first piece of Jamestown. What? Yeah, like the first piece. That'll be a fun launch. I don't know when that's going to be, but that'll be definitely a historic one. So I can't wait for that.
So, on that note, which of these missions is standing out to us most? I need to think about that. Magnus, does one of these missions like stand out to you that you're looking forward to?
I mean, I have to bring up Promise just for multiple reasons, but particularly we're going to finally see how a Mars rover functions under low latency connections. You can basically almost drive the rover real time, which can't be done on Mars. You drive a couple meters, then you stop, and then you do some things, and then you have to wait, and then you go again. Versus now, I think we can actually see a lot more movement on the rover, and we can finally test the rovers in a different environment, which is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I think the rovers are going to be, I mean, they've got to be one of the best parts. We've got the Mars rover that, I mean, the Mars rovers, and it's always cool getting new imagery there. I would love to see that on the ground regular imagery happening from the lunar surface, moving around, scoping out the moon base. That will be really cool. Ryan, how about you? Any particular mission here stand out to you?
I think the biggest one that stands out to me is going to be Blue Moon 1. When does New Glenn get back to flight? That's the biggest, because once that happens, the rest of the Blue Moon missions will just go. They'll just start going once they finally get back up and running to fly, and more moon stuff will start happening, especially after the fact. That's probably the one I'm most curious about when it'll actually happen, because that early 2027. Spoiler alert! I doubt it's happening then.
Is Blue Moon the next mission?
What do you mean next mission?
Is that the next?
I don't think it'd be returned to flight, but it'd probably be like the one after that.
For New Glenn, yeah.
Probably not.
They'd probably do a Leo.
They can't just go straight to that after what we saw, right?
If I were to guess, there's like at least 2 options that I can think of. It might be another Blue Ring Pathfinder, because they have like another sort of contract with the military and things like that for, I guess you can call it like secretive Blue Ring sort of thing, or classified Blue Ring or whatever. But they also could just launch Amazon Leo satellites.
Yeah,
that was the whole point of this mission. Yeah, New Glenn 4 was going to be Amazon Leo satellites. They were about to roll out the spacecrafts, so yeah.
And very conveniently, they didn't static fire with them on top, so they've absolutely got that stack totally ready. Like, I mean, who knows?
It's still in the half.
How many? Who knows? Is that Pathfinder fairings? I don't remember, but like they've got a stack ready for sure. Who knows how many stacks of satellites that they could have ready to launch? I'm sure as soon as New Glenn is launching again, like, Amazon will be anxious to get these satellites launched. They're no longer launching with Atlas. Like, to tie it back to that first story, like, Leo is quite limited on their launching right now, so I'm sure they will be very excited to have New Glenn flying Leo satellites once again. And Blue will be excited to not have it necessarily the most high stakes mission on their first one back from that. And I would say I'm pretty sure they will not do static fires with payloads on top. I think this was
or second stages anymore, maybe,
or second stages for that matter, but perhaps wet dress type. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean. Oh, go ahead, Magnus.
Based on the new pad design, would they not have to have the second stage on? Or it looks like the entire design requires the second stage to be on, and then they put the payload on afterwards.
If we want to go into New Glenn now, unless we have more stuff to talk about.
Well, rolling this into the next topic, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of flows to everything, ties together really smoothly in this show. Like, all of the topics just go one after another. So, I mean, we definitely do need to address the second stage in the pad design, but Ryan, do you want to do a little bit of the talk about what's up with the pad there so that we know what's changing?
Yeah, so basically for New Glenn, they're in the process of cleaning up and rebuilding. As of right now, Dave Limp set out a kind of a note, and then they also showed a video and some looked like AI renders, but it's very early on, so we'll give them a pass on that one. But basically, they showed what their new ConOps is going to be, the new way they're gonna stack the vehicle, the way the pad's going to look from now on. As we saw, I think it was yesterday that the CC8800-1 took off the top of the fixed server structure. Basically, there was not really, it was a lightning tower, but also a server structure kind of thing. They were probably going to use it for crew later on. They took the top off of it because they're going to deconstruct that tower and fix it, and then they're going to do this. So they're going to have a crane off to the side. They'll have a breakover fixture. They'll pick it up with the second stage on, and then they're going to lift it off that and then vertically lift it onto the pad with that crane, 90 degrees offset now, and probably closer to the tower. Have this large fixed service structure, then a rotating structure that's going to go around the vehicle, use a crane to put the fairing on with the payload, and hook up the QDs, which I'll just say this, I have so many questions on this thing. So many questions. And then detach it and lift off. That's their plan to go forward. As well as they would have to reuse the original clamps and launch deck that they had in order to fly as quick as they want to, which they are still saying by the end of this year. I know. For me, no. I still say 18 to 24 months. I don't think they can reuse that launch deck. Again, I haven't seen it. We don't even know what the damage is to that water tower. I bet it's not great either. We don't know how useful that launch tower is, the server structure that they are currently dismantling. They may need to rebuild that from scratch due to thermal damage. It's possible because of that explosion. But when I look at that new pad design, I see the fixed structure that's off that new tower. And then the way, it's not exactly an exact rendering, obviously, because it's still preliminary. And they certainly used AI to fill in some of the blanks, because in one of the pictures, a crane is phasing through what looks like a water line. So, whatever.
It could also just be like a render that isn't actually using any sort of physics. I will give them that. I'm just going to say, like, if they're rushing the renders, they're going to just make the visual demonstration however they make it and get it out. So maybe there's that. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the render right there where the crane is kind of phasing through something. But anyways, Their plan is to lift it up to break it over with a breakover fixture and a crane, and then have the crane pick it up off of the transporter breakover thing, basically, which is kind of the way that SpaceX is going to do it in some ways, based off of some of the hardware we've seen for Super Heavy. They're going to pick it up and then they'll set it onto the launch mount, which it's hard to tell if this launch mount is closer to the tower. If they are planning on doing it closer to the tower, so their QDs don't have to extend as far out, that's a problem as well, because that pad was not designed to have a rocket offset on the flame deflector. So that's other problems you got to solve there. And then if they are going to do some kind of fixed service structure like this during liftoff, that's going to get roasted by the plume. Granted, you're not dealing with the plume of Super Heavy, but it's still a decent plume. It's still 7 BE4 engines. That's not nothing. And then the structure to hook up to all the QDs, I know that TE hooked up to many different points alongside the first stage and the second stage and the fairing. I don't know if this is enough to cover that. I don't know if they're going to have swing arms that go away. That's a whole thing you have to design and integrate. And you're doing this all on the fly, okay? Because I know they were researching the ConOps for this before, but you're doing this all on the fly with damaged equipment and trying to repair it and upgrade it all at the same time. I will give credit to SpaceX on the thing with Massey's. They didn't really try to repair too much. They fixed the flame diverter and some of the stuff at Massey's plus the stand, but basically they redid everything else. This was a far bigger explosion, far more damage. I don't know if as much of it is reusable as they say it is, but I don't know. I don't think this is really that great. I don't know if it'll work like this. I don't know if it'll work well. I don't know what you guys think. It just looks wrong to me. It looks wrong.
Real quick, to go back to Magnus, that it looks like it would take the second stage there. I don't know. You would have to have the second stage on it.
Yeah, in order to stabilize it or something like that, it looks like the second stage has to be attached. But I just want to point out, am I the only one who sees the resemblance here with like the shuttle rotating service structure? It reminds me of the Ares 1X pad.
You're 100% correct. Ares 1X is the best rocket.
No, shut up.
It's an incredible rocket.
What are you talking about? Get out of here.
Alex didn't even hold anything back.
No, he just no. Ares 1X was an incredible rocket. It needed to fly more.
Yeah, incredibly flawed.
And
yeah,
Alex,
no way.
That's what
Alex,
it was.
You keep wow. Okay.
Okay, folks. I'm gonna pick it up from here and continue with the show.
Yeah, all right. We lost D. D-Wise no longer exists. Okay, how about that?
Yeah, D-Wise is no longer with us. Goodbye. Let's continue.
Wait, can you hear me? Can I still talk to Magnus? Can I say, talk about your love of Ares 1X? I'm not alone here. I'm back on screen now. All right.
But, like, I don't know. It makes
it's a very Kerbal pad.
Yes. Yeah, totally. It makes me really skeptical. Their timeline, I'm sorry, but no. I don't see this being operational again until 2028 at the earliest. I think they're going to try to do this. They're going to look through it, and then they're going to realize they can't, or they're going to run into problems with this, and then they're going to have to redesign things as they go, and it's just going to slow it up more and more and more. Meanwhile, like, I hope they don't take too much away from the second pad that they're building to build this. I really hope, because I think the better option is to get the 9x4 pad up and operational as quick as possible. But this whole plan is to continue to use 7x2 and fly as soon as possible to try to still make your deadlines that you have, which, I mean, we'll see.
I'm gonna. Oh, sorry. Is this going to Alex now?
Oh no! I mean, continue. I'm trying to put things in the back channel.
Okay.
To keep talking about this.
I'm gonna say I am kind of impressed. I think I was on the flame trench immediately after New Glenn blew up, and I was very pessimistic. To be perfectly honest, I think I hadn't slept since it had destroyed the pad, and I was a bit perhaps more pessimistic than I should have been. And I don't think I necessarily gave Blue enough credit for being willing to try just kind of wild configurations, which I think is kind of what they're doing here. They're just like, is it the prettiest? No, but we can just modify what we've got, make it work, crane, and just get going again. And I don't know, I didn't really think that they would go that route, and I'm glad to see that they are. Like sure, the crane at the pad will be uglier. I hope it's down and out of the way during launch. But one huge plus side of this design is from where we watch New Glenn launches from off site, no transporter erector in the way. The rocket's rotated. That's going to be a really cool view of liftoff. Like, I think it's going to be a significantly better view of the rocket while it's sitting on the pad. Maybe more that we're able to talk about because we can just see more of the rocket from a bit closer up. Like, so it's a wild plan. I love it. Do I think they're going to make the end of the year? They'd have to get very lucky to make the end of the year. I'm not going to say they can't because they're clearly moving very, very fast with all of this. Like I mean, in terms of cleanup, and now they're getting the tower down to start their rebuilding already. Like, they are moving quickly, faster than I thought they would, and hopefully they can get to a good enough ready state of they can at least start launching New Glenn again sooner rather than later. I don't know.
I'll say I was not surprised at how quickly they cleaned it up. I think it took SpaceX a week and a half to 2 weeks max to completely clean up Massey's, and even then, they were already starting to dig out the trench for doing the upgrades.
Not counting the crane that toppled over.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. But either way, I'm not surprised at how quickly it was to clean it up, but it's not even all cleaned up yet. One of those biggest things is if we zoom in here right on the pad, there's two things that are not cleaned up yet. And that's the launch deck and the launch clamps that are still sitting inside the trench.
Yeah, there.
Those fell. If they are going to launch this year, both of those have to be fine. Both of those have to be in good enough condition to refurb. Otherwise, they're not launching this year. They'd have to rebuild those.
And by the way, this is from Harry Stranger, Space from Space. You should check it out. And promotion and all that stuff for him. Because, we're showing that thanks to him. But yeah, you can see there's like the concrete slab thing where they used to sit. It's now in the flame trench. And also the launch ring itself, the white thing there. Sort of like a cross with a ring in the middle. That's also sort of like there in the trench. Sort of like crooked.
Yeah.
So yeah, those need to be lifted, and I'm guessing if it's still in good shape, maybe they have to refurbish it and repair it. You were talking about the repair of Massey's and cleanup and everything. They also reused the mount, the stand that they used for ships is the same one where they tested this little thing over here that I've got behind me. So like it's the same stand because the structure itself held. Of course, everything else didn't. So they just removed that and put a bunch of other things in there.
How much methane does New Glenn hold fully? Methane and hydrogen total when fully fueled. Do you know off the top of your head how much?
Hydrogen, it's probably like 20 tons or something like that. It's not a lot because hydrogen tanks are very huge, but because of how undense it is, it's very lightweight. So
you know how much methane?
And also the ratio is like 5-to-1, 5 times more liquid oxygen in mass than of liquid hydrogen. So it's probably like 20, 25 metric tons, maybe 30.
because S-36 had like, what was it? I think S-36 had like 50 tons, maybe like 100 tons of liquid methane on board. That's about it. Maybe a little bit more than that.
It is true though, because some people are pointing out very rightly in our chat about the tank farm. We have seen now the flare stacks going off at the pad at LC-36. It is true though that at least one of the methane tanks was dented, probably well beyond repair in my opinion, but the other two seem to be okay. Just a little bit charred, if anything.
That's a massive save. If they had to redo the tank farm like SpaceX had to do at Massey's, that would have been that would have definitely pushed them way out, because getting cryogenic storage tanks is incredibly difficult. Those are unless someone's got them just lying around. Those are really, really long lead items to order and wait. They take a year to 2 years from ordering them to possibly getting them, if not longer, because they're in such high demand. So they take a while.
You know, I really like. Sorry, I really like the satellite imagery, but we also yesterday happened to take a little bit of a helicopter flight, and so we have some images from the air. These ones from Julia, showing the pad a little bit closer up. No, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to take that, Alex. Go right ahead now.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that one of the things that I'm more worried about is like all of that structure that's supposed to provide all of the umbilicals and everything to the rocket. Like they're dismantling the tower right now. We can see there that crane sort of starting to take it out. They have already done that, by the way, by now. If you go to Space Coast Live on our channel, sort of in another tab or something. But yeah, it's one of the things, like it's one thing just having a truss structure there, sort of looking kind of tower, but then a whole different thing of actually making the umbilicals and swing arms or whatever you want to use for that kind of connection. And they have a lot of connections to the rocket. And yeah, it's a lot of cryogenic pipes that you have to run through. Air conditioning pipes as well, for example, all the way up to the top for the fairing, because the fairing, payloads need air conditioning. It's not just Americans versus Europeans. It's also payloads that they need air conditioning as well for maintaining a certain atmosphere, certain humidity, or rather no humidity most of the time. That's sort of the deal with that.
Basically,
and it's a complicated thing. You need to source that material. Like all of those things need to come from somewhere. Basically,
everything that was in the backside of that TE. So everything that ran up the backside of the TE to the top of the first stage, the second stage to the fairing, all that, plus the hydraulics for moving the components inside the tower and the electrical and everything.
For the fairing.
All that has to now get run up through the tower. All of it. That's a lot. That's a lot to run through. So when they go to take it apart, they might do it they might start running things in sections like SpaceX does when they assemble their Starship towers. They add in the high pressure lines, the cryo line, electrical. They add in the conduit. They add all that in section by section, and then when they stack it, they just put in connection points and hook it all together. Blue Origin might do that, or they'll have to run it through like SpaceX had to do with 39A's tower, where they basically had to run all the pipes, high pressure, everything, while the tower was already built. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but that process alone already takes a couple of months. It does. That is not quick. That's not a quick process to fit that kind of stuff out, because they basically have to take the TE and just transfer it to the tower. It's not as simple as, we'll just build a structure. You got to run everything through. That's a lot. And then run it from the tank farm to it, and then run up, and then you got to test it all too. Well, that's not quick.
There's a lot to be desired from those renders. It seems like they had probably like more low fidelity renders, and they just passed them through an AF filter / blender, if you want, and made a mess of those renders, because there are some details of those renders that
where are those AC hoses going?
Whatever.
to nowhere.
But anyways, do we want to promote then the flyover? We teased the flyover.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, because on our preview,
sorry, it has been a while since we've had a full flyover. We did do a brief flight at 36 after that anomaly or observation took place, but now we have a full Space Coast flyover on the way. So, I mean, stay tuned for all the videos in the coming days. I'm sure some of that will be implemented, but we do have a full coverage. And I did release something of a teaser of what those flights are like. It's always very cool to fly over the Space Coast in a helicopter with its doors off, just like seeing what we can see. And there are always new things revealed from the air. So I don't know, Kevin, are you playing this with audio, or are we like going silent for a minute, or what? So as you can see, we flew all around the Space Coast, saw a lot of stuff, but in even more detail, there are hundreds of photos and videos as well that are going to the L2 members already, so they're able to have their look at all those early. So of course, massive thank you to all the members who like support and make all of this possible. But if you want an early look at that before they're necessarily released, join L2, check out the forums, and see what we have to share. I mean, the progress is staggering. There's so much more work happening at Blue Origin's Exploration Park campus. Amazon's facility up by the SLF is up and running. Of course, Gigabay, I mean, it's not done, but it's really done. They've got some of the outside to finish up. They've got glass to put on there. I don't know, it's always so much fun, and we love being able to share those sorts of views with everyone. And then, of course, 36 has seen some massive changes to it. And speaking of the support, we also have a summer sale going on at shop.nasaspaceflight.com for 10 to 20% off various gear. Of course, we have the Hawaiian shirts in there. We love the Hawaiian shirts. They are these incredible, really durable material. It holds up well, and it's a great way to stay cool this summer. And alongside that, I mean, we haven't actually talked about it yet, but it is a holiday tomorrow here in the US for July 4th. And there are a number of prints featuring the American flag, be it the VAB or rocket, or there are even compilations of flags. So check out the link that is going into chat and pick up your merch at shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
I think if I don't say this, hang on, because I also have a few things as well. So Ryan over here wrote an article. We'll talk about this later in the show as well, because the KC flyover also shows a lot of the Starship stuff. So we have that as well. We have an article on our news site if you want to look at that, with already some pictures of that flyover, and I know Chris B will appreciate that promotion.
Sorry,
we are promoting things.
I am being told in the back channel that I was supposed to mention another product, which, I mean, it's 4th of July. One of the things that comes with that is, of course, going out, grilling, spending time with the family. And in the shop, there's something pretty cool. You've seen some of our tile prints, but we have TPS aprons. So as you're grilling hot dogs or hamburgers, you can throw one of these on, rep your Starship heat shield swag there.
Are they guaranteed to protect you from the grill and things like that, like the heat and everything?
Do we add this is not a thermally protective apron?
Need to add like an asterisk. Yeah, a disclaimer
it's
there.
Not actual TPS.
Not actual. Yeah, exactly.
Don't
apron
skydive
is not
with
TPS.
this.
Does it turn red if you? No, right? Doesn't.
I think if your apron has turned red, you have bigger problems, and you should probably remove it. Look,
it could be orange.
An orange or red apron. There you go. You got to go the SLS. You got to go the Sophie. That's definitely.
Does that get
not
more orange as it hits UV light? But it's not actual Sophie. So.
Yeah, it should come in yellow, and then it turns orange.
Oh my gosh! I think that's a whole different sort of product.
Yeah,
but
it's not actual Sophie
foams. all the aprons, all that sort of summer collection stuff, and to tie it back into the flyover, one of the things we saw at 39A on the tower there was like they actually have a big American flag hanging off the side of the tower. We've seen it at Starbase, and now we're seeing it off the Starship tower at 39A.
Super heavy swim club apron, like that's the one that you wear if after the grill you jump on a pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
for your
so.
splashdown. It's
Yeah.
You have to do a hot swap when you're flying, so you need to use the TPS apron when you're jumping, and then you have to swap it to the splashdown one. Hot swap.
Yeah, there's that flag at 39A. I mean, it looks like a tiny flag in the distance.
It's huge.
It is huge.
It is huge. Like I wish we had a person for scale, but if there was a person for scale, we wouldn't be able to see the person, so that gives it away. Oh my gosh, Das is saying we shouldn't use aprons as a swimsuit. They're swim club shorts for that.
Yeah, they have now at Starbase. Let's not say that on air. What he just said in the back channel.
That's
At Starbase, they have 2 flags because they have 2 towers, and apparently they were not brave enough to put the second flag on the second tower.
They're just hanging it off of the Buckner 11K.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, but there's the flag. Not a lot of wind today.
All right, I'll say it. Das said, don't use the apron as a swimsuit. It does not cover the back. There you go. I'll say that. That's less coverage than a hospital gown. Das' specific wording there.
Apparently, Das tried this. And this is how he knows.
I don't.
Wait,
is that personal experience?
Das's word for it. I don't want to know. I don't want to see.
No, I'm good there.
Oh, good lord!
Wow.
But yeah, they have. He's typing. Let's give him time, but. Oh my goodness.
Crispy.
Oh, good lord. Why?
So,
I mean, so yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin. Then I'll say what I was going to say.
I was just about to say we did a flyover, by the way.
Yeah,
We did
right?
do a flyover,
Let's
by
go
the
back
way.
to that.
But everything in this channel is supposed to be approved for release. But Crispy's like, if it's that hot, you want to grill outside. You don't want to be wearing pants anyway. So anyway, back to flyovers.
Yeah, let's go back to flyover instead of all the things flying, I guess. But anyways,
Alex, back to you. You take it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're talking about New Glenn. Are we going already? Because I see in the preview we're gonna show Starship stuff. We still have a lot of show. Yeah, should we complain more about the silly plans of New Glenn return to flight? But yeah, I mean,
well,
go ahead.
We do have a bit more of New Glenn that we should talk about here.
Sure.
We do have support from Drunar saying looking forward to Blue Origin's next flight, and then tying it back to the topic before. Sailing was saying, I think the companies need to go back to something like the Surveyor type spacecraft and launch a group of them, get landing experience with the simple science. Thank you for the support. I mean, yeah, we've got once New Glenn is flying, like that will be a possibility. We just need the commercial rockets to be flying and flying their payloads.
Alex muted.
Sorry, I was muted in our stream server, but yeah. So what I was saying is that pretty much all of the lenders that we were showing in the graphic, except for the Blue Moon lenders and the first Peregrine lender, they were all going to be launching, either launched or launching in the future on Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy. So it's like, yeah, not a lot of diversity in lenders, in launchers for the lenders, which is quite funny. But yeah, because again, you've got like Blue Ghost. It's supposed to launch on Falcon 9, even when Eclipse is up and running. Maybe some of those very future down the line missions will go on Eclipse. No idea. But yeah, Intuitive Machines also using Falcon 9 / Falcon Heavy. Maybe in the future they're gonna be, booking launches with Blue Origin, Rocket Lab with Neutron, Terranar from Relativity. No idea. But there's also not a lot of diversity in launchers. But yeah.
Not yet. There's more coming online, but any that actually have a significant tonnage to TLI? Not really. Other than like Terranar. About the only other one coming online.
I mean, maybe one of the smaller ones like Peregrine Lenders, those are probably small enough that they can launch in Neutron. Neutron is like 8 to 10 tons to low Earth orbit, if I'm not mistaken, and then like 13 maybe in expendable configuration. So maybe you can check out like maybe a 1 ton lender sort of thing like Peregrine. I think it's actually less than a ton.
That feels low.
Blue Ghost is also quite Blue Ghost is also quite small, to be honest. Like Falcon 9, Falcon 9
payload capability, that feels low for a rocket of that size.
Yeah.
Man, that should be like 15-20.
Most of the size is also because it's got the reusable fairing thing, so
right.
The second stage is inside. It's sort of like the Atlas V Centaur thing that we were talking about earlier.
Oh boy, yeah, we could go into
that's
so
we're switching here.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of these lenders are quite small, like they're under 1 ton.
Magnus, what rockets do you want to see launching more landers?
I mean, any rocket's really a good rocket here, especially if we're starting to see some of the more reusable ones. I'm excited to see what happens with Terran. If they can actually reach the payload capacity they're advertising, I think it's going to be a relatively competitive rocket. I mean, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things here, the more rockets, the better. I know we all love to ban around SpaceX and Falcon's superiority and all that stuff, but the more rocket launchers there are, the lower prices there are, and it's better for everyone.
Absolutely. Like once we actually have actual competition, which felt like we haven't been there, we're slowly getting there. And like when you're a smaller satellite that needs a dedicated uh mission, then there is some competition in there. But when you're talking the very large satellites at this point, there's still not a ton of competition. Like New Glenn and Vulcan are like they're getting contracts, but they aren't at the point of truly competing. And so I can't wait to see the Space Coast truly alive again. It feels like it's been coming and going in waves of uh we had Terran at one point, and now it's been a very long lull here. But hopefully we are about to see a huge wave of new rockets, including some pretty huge rockets flying out of a couple pads here at the Space Coast. Right, Ryan?
Yeah. We just start with the Cape at Starship. Starship at the Cape. Wow, that was, I don't know what I said right there. What? Anyways,
It's your section, man.
well,
You
no,
do it.
I said it all weird, but either way, yeah. So with the flyover that we did, got some nice views of Roberts Road, 39A, and Slick 37. As you can see, the Gigabay's exterior is nearly done. Structural steel's completed. Cladding's almost done. The roof is getting finished up. They started this bay in March of 2025, so it's taken them almost a year and a half just to get to this point. And well, let's just say they got a lot more work to do. They got a bridge cranes to install. They're in the process of building what looked to be the work stands for the Gigabay near Hangar X2. They're a much different design. It's kind of odd looking. It looks like the booster one might be down to 6 arms instead of 10, which is kind of an odd change. But we're still trying to get a better look at them. Hopefully, once they start building them at Starbase, we can get a better look at what they're going to look like. As you can see, those doors are a lot bigger than the ones at Mega Bay. They're wider. They're about 96 to 97 meters tall. The ones in Mega Bay are only like 80. They can bear a Block 3 booster can barely clear it. This one, they won't have any grid fin issues or anything like that. It'll just be able to go in and out of the bays. I can't wait to see it fully finished, and hopefully one of these days when the work stands are in, bridge trains are running, and they got a bunch of vehicles in, there's a small portion up on the penthouse level where you'll be able to look straight down into the open transfer aisle, and maybe we just get a perspective of someone looking at a couple of the workstations, and you just see a couple ships and boosters just kind of parked. Or maybe one side is all ship, one side is all booster for this one to start, because they don't actually have any Star Factory here, but one side does have stacking sail bridge cranes, or at least the spots for them. So that's Gigabay. It's getting there. It's still got a little ways to go before it's fully finished, but it's certainly coming along nicely. Some of the other stuff at Roberts Road, you got the launch mount for 37 Alpha, because they're actually calling it Alpha and Bravo. Thank God, not 1 and 2, which is, I'm sorry, SpaceX, but you're wrong in your naming scheme for Starbase. You're wrong. It's 39A and 39B. 39A launch mount's getting started. Takes about 6 months to finish. They're also getting a lot of nice progress over that pad as well. LC39A is making some really, really nice progress. Some deluge tests lately, like ridge cap and bucket tests, stuff like that. And then the IB proofing as well has completed its work on that, and they're just making nice progress. It looks a lot more complete now. So SpaceX is making good progress at the Cape. It's going to take a while to finish the pads. These pads take like 2 years at least to finish. That's 37 right there. You can see there's 5 more sections for the tower plus the roof that'll also get installed after the fact. There's also a CFA drilling rig right there because we think that might be where 37B is going to be. Might be the second pad at 37. So opposite ends of the complex. So nice and spread out, not like condensed like Starbase because they actually have room over it. It's like 37. It's a pretty big launch complex over there. And then there's a ton of area for the tank farm that'll be shared between the pads, and it's kind of looking like the water tank farm is going to get shared between the pads as well, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, SpaceX is making good progress. So yeah.
Yeah, it is very exciting to see Starship going to the Cape in a meaningful way. We obviously don't have any vehicles out here, but I mean, the 39A pad, it was just sort of sitting there for such a long time, and the tower was there for so long that now they've made some progress, but it's not like that changed the skyline too extensively. Now that we have 37 underway, now that we have the Gigabay, like that is a huge change to the skyline, and I mean that'll be really cool. Magnus, like I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing Starship maybe eventually coming to the West Coast as well. Like these Starship is certainly looking for everywhere it can possibly launch because they want to launch a ton of satellites.
Yeah, my fingers are crossed on that end. The ironic part is Starship was originally supposed to be constructed on the West Coast at the Port of Los Angeles. They had acquired land, they had agreements and all that stuff. But that changed in 2021. They went full in on Starbase. But the original plan was supposed to be built here locally. The first BFR test tank was constructed here on the West Coast. Before they did pressure testing, I believe they moved that up to Washington for that. But yeah, they moved everything to Starbase, and we were left with nothing. So I'm hoping we see some things move here eventually because it's a great rocket.
You remember the BFT, the big Falcon tool?
I saw the test tank while driving through Long Beach. It was many years ago, but they had a tent just in a parking lot where they were constructing this thing. It was just a tent in the middle of nowhere
with a huge 9-meter diameter cylinder, which is where we're going to be doing the depositing of the fibers and everything, and doing the curing. I really don't know how they will have done such a thing. To be honest, it was huge.
Stainless is so much better for Starship's use case. I mean, I have no idea how they would have done this with carbon fiber. Just looking at the issues Neutron is experiencing, just imagine what problems they might have had with Starship if it was built of carbon fiber as it was originally intended to.
Bring back ITS. But with stainless.
And how easy they can just take stainless and like weld anything to that. Like we've seen them make such weird contraptions out of Starship test articles and things like that. But yeah.
One of the things that it is the biggest and most important change in the entire program, their switch to stainless steel. And one of the things that they can't do, you wouldn't be able to do with carbon fiber, is they go out and they do a test or do a test flight or test on a test tank. And a vehicle has done its cryo, goes back into the Megabay 2. And then it reemerges and it's got new stringers on the aft. It's got new stringers. You could not do that on carbon fiber. Just weld new stringers onto like the dome weld. You could not do that. You would have to simulate how to add more structural reinforcement and then do a layup and then test that new layup and that would cost so much money to do. And then you cannot modify your existing vehicles. If you have existing vehicles, you can't modify it. There really is no way to put a doubler over carbon fiber, not in any meaningful sense, or kind of reinforcements like that. Not like you can with stainless steel. So them doing this, it's allowed them to do mods to vehicles they would never have been able to do if they went the other route, or even aluminum for that matter. Using aluminum would have been even difficult in this kind of case. Stainless steel just offers so many changes. It is heavy, and it does present themselves with a slight dry mass problem they've been trying to chase for a while. But it also, you can just counteract that with a eventually 280 to almost 300 ton thrust engine. But maybe we'll get an even bigger full flow stage combustion cycle engine down the line, like original Raptor, Alex. Original Raptor.
It would be impossible to see a Starship program like we have today if it was constructed with carbon fiber. I mean, the Starships we have now, they act almost like huge Lego sets. If they want to make a little adjustment here or a change there, they're able to do so. But if they have carbon fiber, you can't really iteratively have that same iterative design process as you can with stainless steel, where if there's an issue, you can easily jerry-rig some small changes. But with carbon fiber, you almost have to design an entirely new vehicle. It's harder to make changes and as a test as you fly, as they like to say.
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you want me to say? I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just jump between everyone.
Kevin
Maybe
being
wrong
Kevin.
button. Yeah, Kevin probably pressed the wrong button.
We've been talking about like the assembly, and absolutely the steel assembly has afforded them many advantage that they are following. But Livin Zaret was wondering, when might that assembly start to happen on the East Coast? When do you think this Star Factory assembly will begin? Like, we've got everything happening at Starbase right now, so they definitely have to expand. What sort of timeline might we see on that?
Media at SpaceX to why they haven't built their Star Factory yet. I don't know why. Like, seriously, the permitting shouldn't be that hard to get the last bit of that northern expansion, and then you just start putting in the fittings and build a factory. A factory is pretty quick to build. Another gigabay will take them, like, each gigabay to build, structural steel plus the exterior plus all the interior stuff, all the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, work stands, work platforms, turntables, bridge cranes, everything. That'll take 3 to 4 years a gigabay or more. Star Factory should take a little bit less time. The tooling still takes a while, but like the building itself is quicker than a gigabay, a lot quicker. I don't know why they haven't built it yet. I don't know why. What are they waiting for? Is my question on that one. They need a Star Factory to build ring sections, transfer the booster transfer tube, do press parts. They'll probably start trying to manufacture flaps on their own rather than trucking them in. There's a lot of different things that they need to do. They need a factory for, and I don't know why they haven't started building it yet. I legitimately don't know why.
Yeah, for a long time.
They're wasting time.
I don't know if we can show again those Robert Stroke pictures, because I'm gonna give Kevin some time for that. But yeah, I mean, at some point they were planning to do such a thing, way back in time, and then that turned into the Hangar X2 building, and then they once again planned to do a Star Factory, and that one they haven't even cleared the area where they proposed to build a Star Factory. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what they do with that. Okay, I'm seeing that we have it. Can we show it? I'm waiting. There we go. So you can see there's like a hang on. I'm gonna start by portions. So the very first time they moved to Roberts Road, it was sort of this area over there, at the bottom, sort of like north is to the top left corner, and south is to the bottom right corner. And so they started only with that little patch there. You can see like a white building on the right there of that pad. That is basically Hangar X1, the very first Hangar X that they built at the site. Yeah, there we go. It started actually just the south portion, and then they moved north, and they have like launch control center, fairing refurbishment, booster refurbishment, also integration with second stages and things like that. Then they started expanding to the west, and they had that massive expansion to the west where it was supposed to be old Starship originally. And then they built
Mega Bay plus.
Yeah, they were supposed to build a Mega Bay. They were building Starship Tower sections, Starship Tower hardware like the Ship Quick Disconnect and things like that. And they built further down. Kevin, down. not
That's
left,
the third
but
expansion.
Yeah, that's the third expansion. I'm still on the second one. The second one that they did to the west of the first one, that is where you have now Hangar X2. Originally was going to be the Florida Star Factory. There it is, slowly getting there. There you go. And now it's actually just Hangar X2. There's no Star Factory or anything. Like, the whole reason it's got that bump there in the height, it was because this area was going to be for nose cones. Just like we see at Starbase, there's like an area of the Star Factory that is higher, and that is for nose cones, and that was supposed to be for nose cones. Now it is, I guess, for Falcon 9 nose cones, because it's where the fairings are integrated around Starlink satellite stacks. But yeah, they've got like, now it's split like in 3 internally. They also did a little extension that you can see sort of here in this area. There's like a little extension that they put on the northern part of that building. And now it's split in 3, where you've got on the north, you've got the bakery portion where they have Starship heat shield tiles being produced and things like that. In the middle of the building, you've got Dragon refurbishment / preparations. We don't know exactly to what detail they do those preparations, but something like that goes around there. And then on the southern end, as I said, the part that it's elevated, that's got the Starlink integration with Falcon 9 fairings. Now they're building a third hangar towards the top of that view, by the way, which Hangar X3, there's like another thing over here, maybe Hangar X4, I have no idea. But yeah, after doing that portion, then they said, let's expand to the north. And that's the part where you see the Giga Bay, that sort of third expansion. But you can see there's a bunch of grass on the left here. That was supposed to be for the Star Factory. It was supposed to be the north expansion of Roberts Road, phase 2. And it was supposed to extend pretty much. You see there's like a little road that ends over here that goes from one end to the other of the northern expansion. That was basically how big it was going to be, the Star Factory. It was going to be 50% larger than the one at Starbase. It was going to be huge, like 1.5 million square feet of floor space for that, and connected to the Giga Bay. It's
So,
nowhere
Alex,
to be seen.
To tack onto that, Dan Scholes had a really good question here, which is, can Star Factory produce enough parts for 2 gigabays? And I'll tack onto that, like, are they close enough to reusability truly that they think they don't need to jump the gun on the Star Factory there? They'll have enough as they start to ramp up cadence. And it's not until they get closer to that, like, 1 flight a day sort of cadence that they will need another Star Factory. Like, if they just do rings and segments and they transport those segments over for a good long while, like, can the Star Factory and Starbase support that?
Maybe. I mean, I know that Ryan probably has a much more lengthy opinion about this. But, I mean, it's also the matter that you probably need to start optimizing things, right? Like, the stacking process, it's also different between ships and boosters, and you have to weld things It's not the same as having just a workstation with platforms around the vehicle to work on it and get it ready for flight or doing refurbishment or whatever than building the thing itself, right? It's a whole different kind of work, if you will. Such is the point that, if I'm not mistaken, at the Starbase Gigabay, that's exactly what they're doing, where they're splitting things like refurbishment from one side and then building on one other side of the building, like like stacking and everything. It's in one side, and then refurbishment and whatever it's probably happening on the other. So I'm guessing that probably in the future they're just gonna make like a Gigabay just for assembly, and then Gigabays for work, for just getting ready those vehicles for flight and getting them worked on in between flights, especially ships. They're probably gonna need TPS inspections and things like that. So we'll see what happens, but my guess is that's probably going to be the future of that. Maybe they'll be able to produce enough parts. I have no idea. We'll see.
The hilarious thing about Gigabays too is, and in relation to Star Factories, is both of these Gigabays are built with one side having more structural reinforcement than the other. And that side has the stacking bridge cranes. So they're separate bridge cranes over 6 separate cells, which are used for stacking. Over at Starbase, that is on the side that's going to connect to Star Factory, in which the sections will just roll in through the side and they'll stack them up, and then the vehicles will go, and that's where that is. They can't simply just change a Gigabay over to have stacking on both sides. You would have to structurally reinforce the other side to be able to take the weight of not only the bridge crane, but whatever that bridge crane is going to lift. So you can't just modify it like that. It's not that simple. So at Roberts Road, it's the same thing. The west side facing, so the side we're looking at on that Gigabay, that's where the stacking cells are. So in theory, you would have thought that's where the Star Factory will connect to. The sections will roll into that side of the Gigabay. They'll stack it on those stacking cells, and then they'll transfer stuff to the other side or whatever, and then the other side would be refurbishment. But again, they haven't built the Star Factory yet. Now, can one Star Factory supply both Gigabays? At the rate they're going, no. Absolutely not. Period. They would need to significantly increase their production rate of ring sections and everything like that, and nose cones, which I think is a matter of still trying to figure out how to build them quicker, because they're still building new tooling. Like Ship 43 is currently in the new tiling area inside Star Factory. It's the first ship to use the new tiling area. It's the first ship to use it. Yeah. Ships 39, 40, and 41 and 42 didn't use it. I don't think 42 used it at all.
Somebody reminded me, by the way, in chat that it is true that the Florida Gigabay turned into Starbase's Megabay 2. The Florida Megabay, not the Florida Gigabay, excuse me.
Yeah, the Florida Megabay became Megabay 2 and exactly. Because they went, well, the biggest thing is because SpaceX started to build everything up at the Cape before ever launching at Starbase. So they go, oh, let's get the Cape up and running. Let's get Florida up and running as quick as possible. And then they went, wait, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't do that until we figure this out. And then they built the tower, which sat there for like 3 years doing nothing. That tower at 39A has been built since September of 2022.
And we covered that in previous flyovers. I should say that, because we've been doing flyovers basically since early 2022. It's already 4 years of doing flyovers. So we've seen all of this. If you go back and watch all of the previous flyovers, we talk about this.
So that they rushed to start Florida and then went, uh-oh, let's not do this anymore. And then they moved a lot of resources back to Starbase to focus on Starbase. And that's when they moved the entire Gigabay plus the entire Megabay 2 plus its crane to Starbase to then build it there. It was kind of funny. And that crane vanished, and I think it's doing other stuff now because it's like partially owned by Buckner. But either way, the crane that built Mega Bay 2, the LR11K that built Mega
They had
Bay 2.
it out there at Roberts Road, and then they moved it to.
But like, SpaceX has constantly changed plans at Florida, and I hope they still build this Star Factory because they need it. If they want to launch as much as they want to launch, I mean, like, yeah, you're going to build thousands of ships. Yeah, reuse is nice, but what happens when you start sending tons and tons of ship to the moon and Mars? You're not getting those ships back. Not until you have propellant aggregation on those. And well, where are you going to get methane on the moon unless you bring it there with you? Really. So, and you need the Sabatier method on Mars, and good luck doing that within the next 10 to 15 years. Actually, good luck in the next 20 is the amount of stuff that is the power that's required, the equipment that's required, tankage, everything you have to send there in order to make enough propellant to send a Starship home. You're not getting those ships back. So you need the production rate up on ships. Boosters, you get a fleet of boosters, you're good to go. But ships is a whole other ballgame. You basically need it like Falcon 9 second stages. Like, you've seen how quickly they've been able to build those. You need to be able to do that, but for starships, and to an even higher degree than that. How many second stages did they build in a single year, Alex? Like 170? I think it's like near the record. They need to do like 300 to 400 for Starship if they're going to send like 200 in one window.
For Falcon 9, they also had to open new aisles for production out in Hawthorne. But yeah, this whole thing of like the whole reason why I went through the history of the expansions of Roberts Road and everything, it's precisely because they change plans over time. And so it wouldn't be surprising if eventually they also change plans for what they're going to be doing to the north.
You know, SpaceX is kind of known for iterative development. But maybe iterative development on two separate factories, production facilities is not a good idea. And maybe that's why they kind of are focusing on Starbase right now. I mean, but
what? Who said that?
Like, doesn't it make more sense for them to focus on Starbase, figure everything out, figure out their manufacturing process, and then build out KSC or Roberts Road?
I would hope that they have the process of building Block 3 vehicles relatively understood at this point. You're on your fourth booster, and you're on your fourth ship now, and your fourth ship and booster, or even higher than that at this point. But like,
another reason,
what, Alex?
Because I want to make a point here to what Kevin said about rapid iterative development or whatever. It's like at some point you got to stop doing that and actually fly the thing.
Yeah, that too.
And launch it a ton of times. The whole reason that Falcon 9 has been able to launch so many times, it's because development stopped and they stopped changing it. And they were able to expand factories and being able to launch many times and all that stuff. If they keep changing the vehicle and doing more things, like you're trying to do that trade-off.
And Falcon 9 works though.
Starship. So you're saying that Starship needs to work first.
Yeah,
you're making my point. You're making my point here that SpaceX is extending and expanding the production capabilities of Starship while still only flying very little and still trying to figure out how to work it, right? And they're building many paths. Exactly. They're trying to do everything in parallel, and there are things that do not go well in parallel, or at least fully in parallel. Anyway.
So speaking of that ramp up in cadence, real quick, we do have some support that I want to thank real quick. We have Space Pope with a $20 super chat saying, "Bless this trench." Thank you very much for the support. As always, Space Pope. But we also have a wonderful question here from Drama for Yo Mama. At one point, Falcon 9 will be expensive to operate and rapport with Starship. If they get one launch a day, then what will be the best outcome for a Falcon 9? I think we are a long way away still from that cadence, but we've already seen some of the stuff with Falcon 9 sort of level off and maybe even ramp down a little bit in terms of cadence. Personally, I think some of the Dragon missions will be the last ones flying with Falcon 9. Like they're gonna move
SSL.
Starlink over and an SSL, absolutely. Like they're gonna move Starlink over as soon as possible. The contracted commercial missions, like those will end up where they end up, but it's those sort of long-term Dragon human spaceflight stuff that's going to be a holdout. Magnus, what do you think?
I think the realistic way to look at this is that cadence on the East Coast is probably going to wrap down as Starlink launches to mid-inclination orbits are shifted over to Starship. I still think we'll be seeing crew launches and all that stuff. I still think Falcon's going to be along at the West Coast, potentially even a little bit longer than the East Coast, depending on crew launches and all that stuff. But we are definitely going to see a lot less Falcon launches in the next few years.
How about as far as Starships ramp up? When do you think we'll see the sort of explosive growth from Starship here?
Probably in the next 2 years or so. I hope we get maybe 5 more test flights this year. That might be optimistic. That might be pessimistic. I don't know. But if we can get a ship catch and a successful catch, I don't think there's any reason why we can't see a increase in cadence. Hopefully next year, getting a couple Starlink launches, because they can put quite a bit of bandwidth in just a few Starlink launches there.
If we want to take bets on how many flights left this year, 2. That's what they're going to get. No. They're going to get flight 13, flight 14, and if those go perfectly, and if flight 15 is actually from the Cape, then that's going to be it. That's all they're getting this year. They're getting 4, maybe 5. They might be able to squeeze in another one if they are able to reuse Booster 21. Yeah, there you go. I'm gone.
That's so pessimistic. Thank you.
That's realistic.
Oh my gosh.
Not pessimistic.
I don't want to hear it. I think the next 2 launches are going to be rapid succession. I think we're absolutely 3's like bare minimum. And they're going to be reflying stuff so soon. Like I think that 4 or 5, like, yes, it's already a huge increase, but we've seen some launches close together before.
I said 5 at the start of this year, and we might get that.
I think I said 8.
We've had 1,
but I was too optimistic there. I think
we've had 1.
Looking back,
and
you said 2, which would put us at 3. Yes, but there's so many extenuating circumstances with Booster 18. Like they're in a far better place now than they were a few months ago.
I don't even think Flight 12 would have been any sooner if Booster 18 had survived. If I'm going to be entirely honest, because they were waiting on the ship for a lot of that. The ship and the pad were still not ready. I honestly think 18 didn't really even slow them down that much. I think that what happened with 18 is it's slowing up flight. It's slowing up flight 13.
It slowed the future flights.
If like they had if Booster 18 flew Flight 12, then 19 would have already been ready for this flight. We would be waiting on Ship 40 to be ready. We wouldn't be waiting on Booster 20. So I think that's where it slowed it up. But Flight 12 happening when it did was basically based on when every component could be ready, and the ship and the pad just weren't ready until they were. So,
yeah. For this question in particular, that drama for your mama asked, because it's like you gotta take into account if they get 1 launch a day. It's like maybe that's actually later than when Falcon 9 starts ramping down dramatically. Like it started ramping down, but it's only like 20 fewer launches a year. Like they moved from 165 to maybe 140 something. It's still quite fast. It's something like every 2.5 days, basically. So it's quite a I don't know. It's quite a lot of cadence yet. The big ramp down might be next year, which is when they expect to start launching Starlink satellites like operationally on Starship. We'll see how fast they can do that, but it is true that at least from a capacity standpoint, not from a satellite number standpoint, but from like how much capacity these satellites, these version 3 satellites can give and sort of put out there to users and all that stuff. It is true that a full Starship launch, it's something like 20 Falcon 9 launches worth of capacity. So that's quite a lot. So basically with 5 Starship launches, they have already covered 100 launches of Falcon 9 Starlinks, basically, in that case. But there's just so many other things. Like we've discussed this as well in Flame Trenches, in Starship test streams and things like that, where it's like, when are they going to be launching non-Starlink payloads? Like the big Hippo or the Chomper, or whatever, like shuttle style doors or things like that. And they don't have a lot of other customers apart from their own internal customers and HLS. Like they only have 2 payloads that I think of that are traditional satellites or traditional payloads. And that goes back probably perhaps to the that goes back perhaps to the Atlas V. Remember when we had that conversation like 2 hours ago about the future of Atlas V and Starliner? I was gonna mention, but to other topics, I was gonna mention that one of the things that worries me is precisely that with the ISS there is redundancy in carrying crew to the station, because you have Soyuz if Crew Dragon doesn't work, you still have that. But for US commercial stations in the future, there's only Dragon, and Falcon 9 and Dragon are also going away. So
you're gonna have Starship, or you're gonna have small commercial stations docking to Starship, because Starship's not gonna dock to them. Yeah, because the size of Starship is just ridiculous. It's basically the station is gonna be docking to the vehicle. Yeah.
Fair.
How many launches do we realistically think Starship could have next year, per se? I mean, they have HLS that they kind of had to have, so that requires fueling missions. So how many launches do we think they might have next year?
Okay, you propose a question, you answer first. How about
that? I think, they need... What was the official number of fueling missions for HLS? I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's unknown.
Something like 15, 20, maybe?
So, I mean, you have to have
and also, isn't it maybe changing?
It's still going to change because they're
maybe they can shave like a handful of them from the number, but I mean 10 or 15, it's still quite a few, right?
With potentially not dealing with the orbit.
They might need like a minimum of 20 launches for HLS, so that's already a pretty significant increase over what they've been doing in the past few years. And then, so really it comes down to, are they going to use their entire cadence for HLS, or going to they do some other Starlink missions in between as well?
So the way I look at this
is... You still didn't answer the question.
What?
How many launches?
Give us a number.
Yeah, it's your first Flame Trench, man. You gotta answer.
Probably, I'm hoping for 20, 25. That's multiple per month.
All right.
We're gonna break this down here.
Come on, Ryan.
Your reverse order across the screen.
So you're gonna have Pad 2 operational, in Starbase, and you're gonna have and next year you should have 39A operational. So you're gonna have 2 pads, and you should have your production rate going up at Starbase, with enough being able to supply a fleet of boosters to the Cape. And then hopefully you're catching and reusing chips sometime mid next year. I mean, maybe 15. Which would be a significant increase if you went to like 4 or 5 launches to 15 launches. That'd be a significant cadence increase. It really depends on how well reusability goes with booster, and can they catch the ship, and how well does reusability go with the ship. And then can they get their cadence up, their production cadence up right now? Because they can, if they get the ship to into Mega Bay 2, they can usually get it stacked in a month, cryoed a month after that, static fired a month after that, and it's ready for flight within 2 weeks after that, 2 to 3 weeks after that. Booster, it takes about 6-7 weeks to stack it, maybe 8, and then about another month to cryo it, and about another month after that to static fire it. Not talking about mods or anything along those lines. And then it's pretty much ready for flight. So they're getting pretty quick with that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna say like 15 at most. But it really depends on how well what.
How well is reusability of the ship going?
It's not going great right now,
0.
Kevin. They haven't caught it yet.
Okay. How long has it taken to reuse a ship so far?
0, none, because they can't reuse it right now.
Okay, so, but don't
Infinity time?
Either they figure out reusability really quick, or they're not getting to 15 launches next year. Not unless they can build 15 ships in the year.
The only way they get to that is if they can reuse ships. Otherwise, they're either at 12 launches or less, because they can build a ship a month, basically. So either they figure out reusability, or they're stuck to 12 launches a year. That's literally what it is. They're stuck to as many launches as quick as they can build ships. When Gigabay gets up and running, they can do it quicker because they got more than one turntable to do it. Because right now they can only stack one ship at a time. But using only Megabay 2, they're stuck to 12 launches a year unless they can reuse. Basically, that's kind of where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to answer first, D? Because my answer is going to be much longer, I bet.
I actually want to have the final answer, and then I have a great tie-in question.
So, yeah, I mean, you got to look at this from multiple angles. It's sort of like a polyhedron sort of thing where you have to look at it from different angles. And you've got testing out at masses, right? That's also important. And we've already seen, we're going to talk about this later in the show, about the juggling of different ships and vehicles going around and all that stuff. You've got the pads, you've got the production, you got reuse, and also transport as well, because hopefully 39A will get activated maybe later this year, early next year. And so all of that, you have to consider all of that in order to be able to guess what's going to be the cadence for next year. I think from a pad standpoint, it looks like they can support at the very least monthly, if not even a higher cadence than that, launches in terms of launches. You might think, whoa, that's way lower cadence than they are planning in the future. And it's like, yes, but it's the very first few launches out of these pads. They didn't get to 3-day turnaround or 2-day turnaround from Space Launch Complex 40 right away. They took more than 200 launches to get to that point. So slow down. It takes a while to get there, folks. But at least for the beginning, based on what we saw from Flight 12, I think at the very least monthly, if not even faster than that, maybe like every 2 weeks, that could be doable from a pad standpoint, sort of thing, right? Now, for production, you can see here, that's the Gigabay and the Star Factory and all that stuff. It's not the stuff factory, although you can call it there that, I guess, if you want to get rid of the Star Factory, of the Star in factory. But yeah, so they're basically about a month and a half or so for every ship, like every 2.5 months for every booster or something like that as well. Maybe they can accelerate that a little bit. Booster reuse will help a lot, as Mr. God was saying. Kevin Michael Reed was talking about ship reuse needs to come online as well. My guess is that at the very least for the first half of 2027, we will not have ship reuse at all. Like, they're probably going to be starting catching ships trying to figure out how they're going to be reusing them, how best to lower the refurbishment times and things like that. And then maybe middle of 2027 or second half of 2027, we may see the first ship reuse. 39A also comes into all of this talk, and then you've got, the transport of these vehicles out to the Cape. All of this to say, based on all of this, plus the fact that in the past for Falcon 9, they have been able to ramp up cadence, but it took them quite a lot of years. And it's just that when you double, like for example, they did 5 launches last year. If you double that, that will have meant 10 launches this year, 20 launches next year. By the time you get to like 100, it's like only 2 or 3 more years, and you quickly get even higher numbers. It's like 8,000 launches by 2032 or something like that. Like, you get very quickly, very fast if you just double. What Ryan said, 15 launches, that will be 3 times the amount of launches that he's predicting for this year. They have never done that. So all of this to say, I think if they get 10, that will be great for them. I'm going to be on the pessimistic side of things. I do think that if everything goes to plan for them, like in a SpaceX mode, I think I would agree with Magnus that it will be possible if everything goes like green lights to Malibu sort of thing. Exactly. If everything goes perfect, then I will believe the sort of couple dozen launches, like 24, 25 launches, basically twice a month sort of cadence. But everything needs to go along for that, which is why, like, I'm adjusting for reality, probably between 10 to 15 launches next year.
I'll give a full realistic view.
No, you already answered.
They fail on a catch of ship and they damage the chopsticks, and then they only get like 2 flights next year.
No, they just go back to landing lights then.
Okay. Now we're the pessimistic
let's not.
that we were expecting. Why were you so optimistic before? We're used to pessimistic, Ryan, and you went all crazy and went to 15.
Just to throw you guys off. Just to throw you guys off.
Yeah,
I got to do it every once in a while.
Now I have to be the pessimistic one and be like, I'll be happy if they launch once a month next year. It's once a month, I think.
How long have we heard that once a month cadence?
Yeah.
But then how are they going to do HLS?
But I don't think you want to hear my take on that yet.
Oh, wait, they're not going to the moon.
That's Artemis 4. It's 2028.
They've got some time.
It's your time to speak.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. I think, I really think if we can see a launch a year, that would be enough of a step up to still be impressive, even though it's not the cadence they're looking for. Like, they're not producing this stuff here. It's not like they're doubling their production capacity. So they are fully reliant on that reusability. And, they've proven it a bit. Did I say a launch a year, Kevin? I meant to launch a month. Wow, I'm not that pessimistic.
Whoa.
Hey, it's it's worse than SLS cadence. What?
Oh. Anyway, to get back into it, until they have true production of vehicles on the Space Coast and they have multiple pads operational, which I know we'll hopefully be seeing. We'll hopefully see the Cape active this year, or not the Cape, but the KSC Space Coast with Starship this year. But otherwise, that cadence increase is reliant on the heat shield working out, on them not having to replace the heat shield too much between flights, on Raptor 3 working on relights very well, on them being able to catch boosters. All of those things have to go to plan, and one failed catch attempt, if they abort properly away into the ocean, sure, that's not as huge a setup, but they've got their separation unit now, so they have to.
Oh,
they'll be in the flats, ocean, but this is anything could be a huge setback, and so pie in the sky idea. If they go to 15 or 20, that'd be so impressive. But if they get a launch every single month with Starship, I think that's really cool. Now, one of the things that's even farther out than like the Cape launches of Starship here is the fuel transfer system. That's they've wanted to prove it a bit, but they haven't done it on the full scale. And Alexander Sterling, with a super chat, thank you for the support, was saying, "Fun Trench, what can you tell us about the specifics of the Starship fuel transfer system? What possible issues do you foresee with its dev?" And if there was an Alex or Ryan question that I've ever heard,
Oh, he
it's
wants
that
me
one.
to take it.
So
Okay.
Hey, you take that one.
in terms of technical detail, yeah, y'all take it.
Yeah, I mean, in about the specifics. Well, the few things that we do know based on the renders and also comments from either SpaceX officials or NASA officials, more NASA officials than SpaceX officials, to be honest. But yeah, so it's just first of all, you first need to get the ships together. So the very first thing is to care. So I'm using my phone and my calculator for this. Is to get the ships together, and for that they have a docking system. So we already saw the docking system, at least the sort of passive side of things. It's a probe and drogue system where you basically have a receiving cone, and then you've got the probe here, and it sort of connects. And well, it's not like this, but you know what I mean. It sort of latches into the passive system, and so you get the two ships connected to each other. Now, the interface for the fuel to transfer is through the main quick disconnect. So imagine there's like a main quick disconnect. The receiving end, the one with the active probe, actually, it's weird because the way that they're doing it is like the target has the probe and the chaser has the cone version of the docking. Like the tankers will have the cones, and the probes will be on the depot, basically. And so the way that they're going to be doing is the depot has a separate quick disconnect based. It's sort of like a mirror version of the quick disconnect on a regular ship. That it's a little bit, I think it's higher up, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so the way that they're doing it is the docking sort of is a little bit. It's actually more like this, if I'm not mistaken. It's right, like the depot will be a little bit longer as well. It's gonna be a lot of basically like it's gonna be weird because if you were to look at from afar, one of them will stick up and the other one will stick down. But basically, they are offset from each other with a mirror image on the depot of that quick disconnect, so that they can then dock to each other and transfer the fuels. Because you got one is methane and the other is oxygen, right? So if you had the same quick disconnect, then you will have the oxygen docking to the methane fuel port, and it's like, nope, you need a mirror image of that on the other ship, and that's basically what they're doing it. Now, once you come into contact, you've got for transferring the propellants. So you've got, if you have the two ships together, right? You have on either on one ship or the other, either on the depot or the tanker ship, you've got sort of like outward facing thrusters on the liquid oxygen tank, also on the methane tank as well, and I think even on the nose cone there's a few that sort of point this way that can sort of thrust in a direction, and that sort of settles the propellant against the quick disconnect that will be here basically. And once it is settled, the way that you actually transfer it is by pressure differential. One tank, the one that is sort of giving the propellant, raises the tank pressure, and then the ones that is receiving, you lower the tank pressure, open the valves in between both, and it flows basically. It goes from one tank to the other. Some of the basic possible issues for all of this is, first, you need to control a ship to meet with the other. This is a very complicated thing. They have added lots and lots of thrusters on these ships in order to be able to control it, because you have a massive 52-meter long ship with blobs of propellant floating around and everything, and you got to actually control it. And you move it one way, then the propellant hits the wall and sort of pushes the other way. It's a very complicated thing to maneuver. So that is one of the major things that they need to solve. Not a huge deal, because they're doing many of these tests, and Flight 12, the ship seemed to be handling the attitude control quite well in that sense. But docking, it's a little bit more complicated because you got to actually get in and dock to each other. Then the interface between the quick disconnects, because if you remember, quick disconnects are, let's say, they have a devil on them. With SLS, with the Space Launch System, we had lots of hydrogen leaks. It is true that in part it is because hydrogen is a smaller molecule. And so it likes to seep through basically everything, even through the holes of metals and things like that, through the atoms and all that stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, so it's still a challenge for methane equally. It's not a small molecule in that sense, but it's still quite a volatile gas. And so even just tiny bits that may leak here and there might be a hazard. So that is one of the other challenges I'd say that they probably have in mind. But that's basically the whole rundown. You got anything else, right?
No, that pretty much covers the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see what we'll see what issues they run into it. No one's ever done a large prop transfer before between two vehicles, not of that kind of cryogenic liquid before. So I'm curious to see how it'll go. That demo is sometime next year. It'll probably be a launch from 39A and a launch from Pad 2 close to each other, and then rendezvous and dock and do the transfer.
Yeah, some people talking about boil off and things like that. I would guess that's more of a challenge for storage rather than the transfer itself, right?
Can't wait to see a depot.
Like once the transfer is done, obviously you need to control boil offs and things like that. But for the transfer itself is, yeah.
You know, Ryan, we've been talking a lot about Starship, but we haven't really talked about Starbase yet at all, and it has not been a quiet week out there at Starbase. Do you want to give us a rundown there of what's happened?
So what was it? Let me just pull up my spreadsheet here just so I can get my dates right on this, because we had musical ships for a bit there. Basically, Ship 40 rolled out to Massey's on the 23rd of June. Did an igniter test and a single engine static fire on the 25th, and then rolled back on the 26th. After that rolled back, Ship 41 rolled out on the 28th, did a pair of cryos. It was kind of between the night of the 29th and the early morning of the 30th. And then that rolled back on the 30th to Mega Bay 2, got placed on the center stand. 40 then rolled back out again on the 1st, did a six engine, 60-second static fire. Then that rolled back again, and Ship 41 rolled back out again this morning, or last night really, and is currently sitting out at Massey's over the trench. SpaceX is playing musical ships. They're having some fun with it. I don't know why. I'm going to guess the original rollback for 40 was because they ran into a problem and they wanted to get 41 cryoed in that time, but apparently they didn't finish the cryo, and which is odd because I mean they only did 2, which is kind of what 40 did. It did basically the same thing that 40 did and then rolled back, and then 40 came out, did a static fire, and then they swapped again. I don't really know why 41 is back out at Massey's. It's kind of odd that it is. But it is either way. So that's fun. And then as Ship 41 was leaving Mega Bay 2 last night, the PEZ and the nose cone payload bay section of Ship 42 rolled in. And then the forward section rolled in. They double stacked, put the forward section onto the turntable. Then they're currently installing the PEZ, and then they're going to stack it on its forward section. So tons of ships. You have 3 ships in movement, 2 fully completed. 40 is going to be for Flight 13. 41 is supposed to be for Flight 14. And 42, if those 2 flights go well, that could be the first ship to fly out of 39A. And maybe it's fitting. Ship 42, the ultimate answer to universe, life, and everything. For anyone who's read or watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But then you get to boosters, Booster 20 is still in Mega Bay 1. It's waiting to get out and go to the pad, which is undergoing some changes right now. They're doing some work on it, so Booster 20 isn't out yet. Booster 21 got finished stacking, so that's done, which is nice. So you got 41 and Booster 21, which will be Flight 14. Both of those might get catched. Might. We'll put asterisk might, lot of, but might. I would not. If Flight 13 goes perfect, I wouldn't be surprised if SpaceX tries for both. There's no reason not to. They have to get to ship reusability ASAP. More than they need to show that they got to go to orbit. They got to do ship reusability, as we were talking about earlier with Cadence. And then, of course, Booster 22 started stacking, so that's alongside Ship 42. So lots of vehicle hardware, which is good, as we were talking about. They need vehicles, and they need a lot of them, and they need to start building more. So a ton of vehicle stuff moving around. And then, of course, they've done a bunch of Toptic deluge tests, which were kind of separated by about 8 minutes or so. So launch test and then catch test. So lots of stuff happening at Starbase. And here's SpaceX's video for the 60-second 6-engine static fire, which is always awesome to see.
So much plume, so much wow. Are we playing the audio? Because I think they finally introduced real Raptor 3 ignition sounds.
Those mock diamonds
instead of
off the RVAX.
Instead of the canned ones from the Raptor, the subscale Raptor from 2016, I think.
Oh my god!
You can actually see the top-down shot of the drone. You can see the ship wobble.
Yeah, I think the other Ryan posted a video of that on X showing the wobble. Let me pull that up for Mr. Kevin Michael Reed.
Yeah, that's a good-looking static fire there.
It also shows the new, I guess, changed ignition sequence for the Raptor engines to fix the flip of the.
To make sure the booster doesn't flip in the wrong direction. That's part of the reason why booster failed. That plus, I think they had a really wonky Raptor 3 ignition on the booster.
What's this supposed to mean?
I don't know.
Maybe God KMR can tell us.
It's, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see the wobble, and then also the static fire, sort of like the ignition sequence when they show the engines from below. You can see, so there's like 3 center engines like this, and then the vacuums are like that. So they're igniting the top one of the centers plus the top 2 of the vacuums, and so yeah.
You can see the ship wobble right there.
You can see the wobble
as the thrust level changes.
And this is why we were talking about this many years ago when tiles kept falling off the ships, and we're saying the stand, like you have, I don't know, you can sort of liken it to a guitar string when you are fixing it in one place and then you're doing the bong, right, the vibration there. It's different when you're holding it at different locations, or if you're holding it at all, right? In the case when it's flying, it's not being held down or anything like that. The way that all of those, the thrust and all of the vibrations go around the ship are different when it's actually anchored and held down to the ground because of that. And so you can see it wobble like that. I bet you it's not doing that during flight. That wobbling, it doesn't happen during flight. So yeah. Now, barely any tiles get dropped during this kind of testing. I think only one of the tiles, the test tiles on the leeward side. Yeah, on the leeward side.
So I mean, it's a question we have to ask. When flight?
When flight? Which flight? Because we're
Right.
seeing here ship 41, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that's 41.
This is 41. Yeah. All right.
Either of them. When do we see Starship in the air once again?
Magnus has a face of saying, "Ooh, I want to answer this."
If they don't have a flight by end of August, I will be very disappointed in SpaceX. My day will be ruined. So I'm hoping end of July, mid August, sometime between those two sometime between end of July, mid August is my hope.
I think that's fair. I would agree with that. I think we need a summertime launch. Like, they've got some work to do still. Hopefully we see it happen. Do I think they make the end of this month? I'm gonna say no, unfortunately. Hope I'm wrong, but if we get a launch next month, I will be pleased. And hopefully a rapid move to some vehicles over here on the Space Coast, and then 39A seeing its fair share of fire as Starship finally does something at 39A. Just anything, static fire, like sit on the pad. It'll still be cool to see. Just
yeah, seeing a fully stacked Starship at 39A will be a sight to see when that happens. That's for sure. As for flight, it's probably end of July, mid August. They still have a lot of pad. They're still doing some pad mods. They are doing some stuff with the tower. It looks like they have decided they are a little annoyed with the amount of venting they're getting out of the lock side of the tower, and I think they're going to be rerouting the ship LOX bleed back down to the ground, either back to vents or back into tanks. It's not 100% certain yet. So they're doing mods on that. They've also been modding the side as well. So expect when Booster 20 rolls out, again, expect a tanking test before they static fire it. There's a lot of changes to the tank farm. And it's also expect another wet dress rehearsal before they launch again. There's certainly things they gotta test because they've changed a decent amount of stuff already with the tank farm. So that all has to get finished off before they bring a booster out. At least the booster side of the stuff has to get finished. Do the 33 engine static fire, and we'll see if the booster is in flight config when it rolls out, or if they roll it back for final inspections or they keep it out of the pad. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do the keep out of the pad thing. They've never done that before, where they've done a 33 engine static fire and then kept it out there. But we'll see how confident they are in the new booster design to do that, if they decide to do it or not. I don't think 20 will be out until, at least it's not. Of course, it's not happening this week. It might be next week or the week after. So I think it was like a week or two ago. I said 2 to 3 weeks. So we're coming up on the week number 3 of that, I think. But hopefully we'll see it soon. I'm hoping for a successful one, because then, ship 41 and booster 21, assuming 13's perfect, then those could go to orbit. Then they catch 21, and then they try to catch 41. I would not be surprised if they kept 41 in orbit, got the booster off the pad, and then tried for a catch. I mean, why not? If you can, why not try it? If for some reason a ship runs into a problem, they have to deorbit it and splash it down, then they got to do that. But if you can keep the ship up there long enough and you can catch it, might as well try. They've got to get that reusability going. And that might be end of September. So hopefully only like a month and a half to 2 month gap between those flights is hopefully, if not longer, but we'll see.
Okay, obviously the goal is to potentially launch one from Florida by the end of the year. And we've seen, You'll Thank Me Later, doing a trip between Port of Brownsville and Port Canaveral.
Mhm.
Have we seen any hardware that's required to potentially break booster and ship over into the horizontal configuration?
We have. There is hardware at Starbase. There's even a little bit of stuff at the Cape. I think pieces here and there, but at Starbase in Sanchez near the Rocket Garden, there is a jig to hook up to the aft of booster, as well as a jig to hold booster, and it could also hold the ship if needed as well. And then alongside that, there's a pair of large bearing turntables, basically, that would sit on a pair of the semi truck smaller SPMTs. They have the capability of being pulled by a semi, so those would basically sit on there. And then there's also a stand in which they can use to actually break the booster over. So a lot of that hardware exists. It's not fully put together yet. And of course, they haven't tested it with a real booster. The ship is a bigger question mark. They might be able to use some of the same hardware for ship, but they would have to might have to make an adapter for it, or ship's going to need something else entirely. It'll be interesting to see how it looks, but that hardware is certainly in progress. The booster and ship, of course, that might do that are ship 42 and booster 22, unless SpaceX decides to go with a reused booster, which would be booster 21. But I would be curious when they finally test that stuff. It's been on and off. They've been working on it for the last several months. But it definitely exists, and there's no other reason for that, because if I remember correctly, I think that it's like booster aft, like breakover jig or something. It literally says it on the thing that it's meant for booster horizontal transport. So it's basically what it's for.
Will they take and transfer Super Heavy to vertical configuration by the LC-39A turning basin by the vehicle assembly building, or will they do that at Roberts Road?
That's a good question. Depends on where the barge comes in. If the barge comes into the turning basin, my guess is they would do horizontal all the way to Roberts Road and then break it over vertical there, because they got a bridge crane that can do it. Otherwise, you would need to use a really large port crane. You'd need one that is like 80 to 90 meters tall, and there are not many cranes that are around that are that tall. You could do it at 39A with the LR11000 there. They could try to hook it up and do that, and then place it on a transport stand at 39A, and then roll that and then roll it on the transport stand all the way to Roberts Road. So there's a couple different places they could do it at. I'll be curious to see where they do they break over again to vertical, because if they go vertical anywhere, then they need a crane that can lift the booster off of the jig it's on and onto a transport stand so it then can go. If you keep it horizontal, well, it's a bit of a pain to turn for a booster that long. You can get it to the Gigabay where you just hook up to the bridge. You just hook it to the bridge crane, the transfer aisle bridge crane, which those are 400-ton bridge cranes. You pick up a booster with no issue. Just break the booster over vertical and then place it on a transport stand. So they could do it a few different ways.
So, real quick, we do have a super here from Kryptonite Gaming, who's wondering, like, obviously propellant transfer has been a huge part of Starship's plan, but is NASA over-concentrating architecture on orbital propellant depots and in-space refueling rather than pursuing a more direct translunar injection, I can't speak anymore, approach for lunar missions? I'll throw that one over to
Oh, no.
Kevin's actually going to do it.
No.
Okay.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
goodness.
joked about it.
Kevin actually did it.
You know what? We have to cover Swift. So, you know, they
my
launched a
goodness.
reboost mission.
Yes.
Yes, the
From
reboost
Pegasus
mission.
XL. That's the only Swift we're talking about. You know, really cool. Pegasus is this air-launched vehicle. We haven't seen it in years. Like, it's great to have it flying again, and you know, supporting the
Hey, it is the
reboost
L1011.
of Swift.
It is the L1011, which is one of the
The only
most
tri-star
beautiful,
flying.
which is the best tri-jet plane in existence. The DC-10 MD-11 is a pile of junk. Yep.
Okay.
Can I answer a question
Tri-star for the
now?
win, yo.
I don't know. I think that's up to Kevin at this point. But I do want to thank Kryptonite and Alex. Yeah, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
they
the
super
architecture?
chatted that let's at least hold that our part of the deal, I guess. Which is, I mean, the whole point is that we are now going to stay, and that it is sustainable and all that stuff. So you need reusable landers, you need reusable rockets in general. Yes, not every single part of the system is reusable. I know about SLS. We're getting there, okay? Like, let's start at least with the landers. Some of the rockets are also reusable in part or in some shape. Like, there's at least a non-zero percentage of the whole thing that is reusable, unlike Saturn V and Apollo, which is really the important thing. And that sort of lowers down the cost. It increases the chances and like the how often you can go to the moon and how much you can do on the moon, because it's much bigger lander and things like that. If Artemis was all about returning back to the moon as quickly as possible, they should have done just what Apollo did and give NASA 4.5% of the non-discretionary budget. But they're not even doing that. That's my answer.
Awesome.
that was a very weird and yeah moment of silence, I guess, for
I was typing.
I know.
But...
I'm seeing what you're saying. Unfortunately, I'm seeing.
Sorry, I just see the preview. But we've got so much coming with Artemis, the Artemis program as a whole here, as we get closer to our wrap time. I don't know. I feel like the depots is going to be very cool to see it proven out, but would it have been faster to not do that, to not be reliant on this untested stuff? Sure, but we won't have the same progress. And when we're looking at like Mars, that sort of stuff, like depots are important. Like it's a good step moving forward.
I mean, it's that, or you launch a 200-meter long, 15-meter wide rocket to launch even more payload. And there's a point where you can just not launch any more bigger rockets. You need to start assembling things in orbit and refueling in orbit and doing stuff in orbit in general. So, yeah.
All right. Given that we have Ryan and Alex here, I feel like we should almost start with the outros for now. So I should start with Alex.
Sure. I mean, it's always quite a fun ride here on the Flame Trench, I guess, and I guess this maybe had a much better ride on that Flame Trench, I guess. But yeah, we'll see when we can see a bunch of these things. I mean, Blue Origin, we talked about that. Maybe they return to flight later this year. We'll see about that. But yeah, we'll probably have to check back on these topics at some point in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, you know him. You've seen him around. You've certainly heard from him. It is Ryan. Thank you for joining.
Pleasure as always. Always love getting on Flame Trench, talking Starship and everything. And it's just a joke, guys. We're just having fun with it. But yeah, I'm a Swiftie. Who cares? Anyways.
Now, Magnus, we didn't talk about the launch that you went out and covered this week, but you are joining us from the West Coast, and so you were out at Vandenberg supporting that sort of coverage earlier this week. You want to talk about that before you give your...
Yeah. If you're going to Vandenberg, remember to bring your jacket. It's kind of cold sometimes.
Well, sorry, please continue. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, first time here, and I'm hoping to join you guys for many more.
Absolutely. This has been an absolute pleasure, and the clock changed on me a bit, and we have more time than I thought I did. But huge thank you to the team here, and huge thank you to the members who make all of this possible. You can see all their names up here on the screen. The coverage that we provide from the field would not be possible without all of them. I really do not have a minute and 40 seconds to fill here. In the back, pushing all of the buttons, pulling the levers has been the one. No, that's definitely not happening. Not in the background, on screen, hosting has been myself, the only one and only DYs. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. It's been a minute since I've changed. Now to go back, KMR, the producer, who's having way too much fun with this,
I think you should say
has been pushing all the buttons,
Taylor.
pulling all of the levers. Are you purposefully just doing them in the wrong order here? Massive thank you, Kevin Michael Reed, for making the Flame Trench happen this week. It has been a good time. Everyone in the US, have a wonderful and safe holiday weekend. Please be safe. Have a good time. Enjoy your time with family, but have a safe one. How do I fill 40 more seconds here?
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, Earth sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.